driven near it, like you can see it from the highway.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not good.
Oh,
David.
Yeah.
David.
Oh, hello, Mayor
You're
Brown.
online.
Yep.
Just muted out there. You
Okay.
telling us the weather out there?
Yeah, good weather, good, nice breeze out here. Yep.
Okay. So, we acknowledge, appreciate the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq First Nation. Call to order. Councillor Matart will not be here with us tonight. I think David Gundrum and Donna Miller-Ayton are calling in. Also want to pass my sympathies on to the Gillis family. Ken Gillis, who was a former councillor here in 2004 to 2006, passed away. So I was just at the wake this evening. So sympathies goes out to the family. And I want to congratulate, I don't know if he's here tonight, but Richard McEwen was the successful candidate for the new Director of Community Services. So congratulate to him also. Any declarations of conflict of interest? Okay, approval of the agenda. Okay, moved by Councillor McKinnon, second by Councillor Beck. All those in favor? Okay. We have the adoption of the previous draft minutes, regular monthly meeting May 14th, 2024, public planning meeting May 15th, 2024, special meetings May 28th, May 30th, June 3rd, 2024. I need someone to move the approval of those minutes. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, second by Councillor Beck. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Any business arising out of the minutes? Councillor Tweel, can you just indicate which set of meetings or what meeting, please?
Yeah, page,
Could you just
May
stand?
14th,
Could you just
page
stand?
2. Pardon
Just
me?
stand
Yeah.
and, yep.
May 14th, page 2, and it's regards to the request for the release of the legal opinion on the 10 Prince Street. It states here, I'll paraphrase basically, that it was requested that legal opinion to the process to designate 10 Prince Street as a heritage resource be released to the public. CAO reiterate the city follows all procedures and processes accordingly as per the Heritage Preservation Bylaw. That's not what I asked. She stated that the legal opinions are not released because when released, the city loses privilege. So the question is, when reference is made to the legal opinion, and it's quite explicit to the community, our lawyers are telling us that we can proceed with this process and we can designate a property heritage, or we can embark upon that process, even without the written consent or authorization of the property owner. So we can tell the community that we can do that from a legal perspective, but we can't tell them why. That's the question I have. I mean, it's either you're all in or you're all out. If you shouldn't be able to reference legal opinion publicly saying we have the authority to do this because our city solicitors are telling us this, but we can't release the public opinion. And I find that, you can't have it both ways. If the legal opinion is confidential, then it should be confidential in terms of it stays internal. You can't say, well, our lawyers are telling us this, but we can't tell the community why our lawyers are telling us that we can proceed in this manner, that we can go down this road in terms of the process, and we have the legal authority to do it, but we can't tell the residents why. To me, that's not being informative. You can't, again, to reiterate, you can't have it both ways. So I'd like to ask our solicitors,
Yep.
through the chair, to,
No, it goes through the presiding officer, but could you tell me what minutes are they? What,
I told you,
I just want
May
to know.
14th, page 2.
Page 2, May
Yeah.
14th.
Page 4.
Page
No,
4?
page 2, Norm.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
but the minutes.
Yeah, I got them. Yeah. So,
That's my first question.
I got two questions on the minutes. So, Deputy, do you want to address that? And it's, again, May 14th, is that what he said? Yeah. Okay.
So yes, a legal opinion had been requested in terms of the process that we followed on 10 Prince. And I think the confirmation was that process was followed correctly because we adhered to the Heritage Preservation Bylaw. As for reasons and rationale around legal opinions being privileged information, I could turn that over to CAO Mohammed or our legal counsel to better explain to council and the public why that law, rule, process is in place around privilege, so.
Yeah, let's, Karen, can you just give a quick summary? I know it's a legal issue and there is a confidentiality matter there, but just before we do that, when we designated the lots, the 500 lots south of Houston Street, that was a resolution passed by council, was it not? Anyways, could you answer his
That's
first?
not what I asked, Mr.
Well, no, it's the same
I know,
thing.
but it's not
Okay,
what I
go ahead.
asked.
Just on the legal opinion, I'm not sure, is my mic on? Okay. Yep, just on the legal opinion, typically when we provide the city with a legal opinion, we do so, that legal opinion is privileged, as Councillor has mentioned, and normally that would not be shared in the public realm, although obviously in some instances, in order to conduct the business of council, they would report on whether or not a process or an action taken by council was done in accordance with the bylaws or the Municipal Government Act, as the case may be. But again, typically, the underlying parts of the opinion would not be shared, and if you did, then you would lose the privilege around it.
CAO, did you want to add anything to that, or you just want to stick with the legal opinion? Can you just go on the public record?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing further to add than what was in the minutes and what was just shared.
You can go up for the second time, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then I have another question.
No, no,
On-
no.
On
it's
the minutes.
Yeah, no,
No,
we're
on the
moving on.
minutes.
We're
On the minutes.
twice. Ask every once.
Anyway, all in the motivation of transparency. So, again, to the solicitor, so you can't share the legal opinion, but you can reference the legal opinion because our lawyers are telling us we can do this, but we can't explain the logic or the rationale as to why our lawyers are telling us that we can proceed in this fashion, right? And then I do have a question on another matter.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
What is it?
Okay. It was referenced when we voted to go to a public meeting on the community fridge. Deputy Mayor noted, the former planning administrator, manager of planning, was an error when approved, was given to permit the community fridge in this location. We did receive clarification from the manager, David, and if you read the email, and he highlighted in yellow, it was a pilot project, so it wasn't a permanent approval. In fact, if I paraphrase and recall reading the email, we'll.
If we're talking community fridge, I'm in conflict, so I should leave.
Yes, you should. I didn't know he was going to bring it up, but yeah, you have to leave because you're in
It's in the
conflict.
minutes.
Yeah, well, he's chosen
Okay.
to leave in conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Finish up.
So to suggest, and I'm just looking for clarification, because the way it was reported in the media was, previous manager gave approval, only to find out that approval wasn't, we didn't follow the process because of the parking lot, for example. And now we got to go through the process. But what he approved was pilot project. He didn't approve a permanent resolution to allowing the fridge to be there. That was my interpretation, that was my assessment and analysis of previous manager of planning. So I'd like clarification on that, and again, my previous inquiry to our city solicitor.
Yeah. So what minutes are that, Councillor Twill? Minutes? What, referring to what minutes? No, I want,
Page 3,
page, what minutes?
May 14th.
May 14th, page 3.
Page 3. Okay. So do you want to start first? Adam?
Councillor Twill is correct that the email did state that the previous manager of planning did indicate that they could proceed and they would refer to it as a pilot, but no time frame was given to that pilot. So therefore, I still would say that they had permission. Had been given permission through a pilot project, but there was no end date to the pilot project. They were just to proceed, and until they came to a point, perhaps when there was concerns, and so the concerns have come forward, and that's why now they're going through the process to get a site-specific exemption. That's about all I could add to that. I mean, we all saw the email. I believe it would be a public email if anyone wanted to see it, but I don't really have anything else I could add to that, Councillor Twill, but if anyone else, if presiding officer, CAO Mohammed has anything else to add, but that's, and as in terms of that public meeting will be in July.
Okay. Karen, please.
Thank you. Not really much of a different answer, Councillor Twill. The reason that an opinion isn't shared in its entirety is to maintain the privilege over the opinion itself. From time to time, I am aware that there will be a statement by council that an opinion has been received, but again, in an effort to maintain the privilege over what has been provided within the opinion itself, it typically would not be shared in a public realm.
Yeah, no, thank you. Councillor Drawn.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. And again, I just look for a clarification. When you lose privilege, so we ask for a legal opinion, our lawyers come back and they give us their legal opinion, but we're not allowed to share it. But, you know, I know we had a discussion one time, you know, you can pretty well give a legal opinion for and against pretty near anything. So if we ask for a legal opinion, the opinion comes back this way, but we can't discuss it because we lose privilege. But what if it's not always right? How do we know that it's right? Like you can give probably, you can back up that opinion with case law, but there's also case law against the legal opinion. So that's where it gets me about the clarification. You know, you give us an opinion, not necessarily you, but we get a legal opinion and we're told we can't share it or we lose privilege. But yet, if I go to a different law office, they could give me a legal opinion the other way. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand
Yeah.
we can't discuss it, can't talk about it, can't tell the residents what it is because we lose privilege. What does that mean?
So, Councillor Drawn, I think that's the information we get as councillors, that we get legal opinions, we get opinions from auditors that is part of the knowledge that we have then compared to the rest of the public, and we need that knowledge to make a well-informed decision. But that's for me personally. If you want to look at the legal side, please.
I was actually going to echo kind of the same thing, that we provide a legal opinion, which is your law firm or your lawyer providing their expertise, their experience, their legal research, and their know-how to the question that's put in front of them. And then we would provide an opinion, which you're quite right, sometimes isn't black and white. Oftentimes it isn't black and white. We provide our best opinion as to what an appropriate answer would be. We don't make decisions on behalf of council. We simply provide them with advice, and then council would receive that opinion, and based on their own input and thoughts and discussion, would choose to follow that opinion or choose not to follow that opinion. And that's, we don't bind council, we just simply provide them with our best advice on each and every question that is put before us. And so I suppose, and I have seen it before, if you ask one lawyer something and you ask another lawyer, I don't know if they always have the same facts or they always have the same weighing of the factors, or in close calls, somebody might go one way on it, someone might go another way. I mean, by the same token, you go to court and you have a judge and you go to the trial division and the trial division judge says one thing, and you take that same case and you put it before the Court of Appeal, and they could come to a different conclusion because they weigh the factors that are pertinent to the question before them in a different way. So the law is not, I guess, so refined and black and white that you're always going to get the same answer to an issue. I mean, differences of opinion are really kind of, where you try to do your best to weigh the factors and say, here's where I think it would or should land when you have those kind of close calls.
And Councillor Drawn, I know that all of us have dealt sometimes with legal firms. When they give us client privilege information, that's only between the lawyer and me. It's not up to the lawyer to release that information to anyone else. If I want to, I can, but again, I think that your answer is a summary of what we're talking about. Councillor McAleer? Okay, good. Can we move on to 6.1, Planning and Heritage? Want to give you a report? Okay.
Yep, thank you, Your Worship. The Design Review Board did not meet this month. The Heritage Board has not met since the last council meeting, so there's no minutes there. Affordable Housing Advisory Committee met on May 21st. The minutes are in your package. Planning and Heritage Committee met on June the 4th. Again, the reports and minutes are in your package. Planning Board met on June 4th, and reports and minutes are in the package. This evening, we have 6 resolutions for your consideration and 1 first reading, and we have no second readings. And I'll do my best to answer any questions. Thank you.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. My question is regards to the Design Review Board. Whenever the Design Review Board meets and comes to a conclusion to approve a design of a particular proposal, does that then come to City Council for Council to vote on? If not, why not?
Okay. What's the history of the Design Review Board? Councillor Bernard, Councillor Drawn, does it go back? Did it start under you guys? Like, it wasn't in place when I was on council. When did the Design Review Board start? Is it 10 years? Has to be 10 years, right? So it's been around, and I know this question keeps coming up, but you have an answer?
10, but it's been 5 to 7 and a half.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for that question. It's actually a really good question. You're not the first time to have asked that. It's a great question. I don't have the answer. I have no idea why it does not come to council. It's a rule. It's a bylaw. It's a design review rule. Someone did it long before my time. So when it comes to design review, that's where it stops.
Okay.
That's all I got.
So can we get him a great answer by getting one of the managers, whether it's
Absolutely.
David
So
or
I
it's
think
Donna?
I will
Yeah.
refer this to Manager David first, because I don't think it falls under Donna's files. So I'll go to David first.
Good.
Okay.
David, can you give us a history lesson on the Design Review Board?
Yes, Mayor Brown, through the chair. So, to the best of my knowledge, the Design Review Board, it certainly predates my tenure here at the city by a number of years. It was established, from what I understand, in and about 10 years ago to provide guidance on and to ensure quality of design for any larger developments in the 500 lot area, so the downtown area of Charlottetown, as well as any developments incorporating affordable housing units to ensure a certain minimum level of quality of design for any and all developments across any part of the city that incorporated an affordable housing component. In terms of decisions of a design review board, where there is a discrepancy between the advice provided by the third-party design reviewer and the motion passed by the design review board. So, for instance, let's say the third-party reviewer makes 5 recommendations and the design review board only adopts 2 or 3 of them, but not all of them, where there is a discrepancy between what the design reviewer recommends and what the design review board actually passes as a motion. Those are the cases where that matter will then go up to council to make a determination whether to side with the agree with the exact motion of design review board or to look at it further, because that discrepancy does exist between the professional advice of the third party reviewer and the motion passed by the design review board. So I'll end it at that, and happy to answer any follow-up questions to those statements.
Yeah. David, I don't know if we can get Todd Saunders or Donna. Can you guys just come up with a summary, a synopsis of what it is, the history of it? Because it wasn't here when I was on council, and it was here when I arrived in 2018. Second question, Councillor Twill. 2014, so 10 years. Okay.
So I want to thank the manager for, his explanation. And as he pointed out, there's a discrepancy. So when there's a discrepancy, there's inconsistency, to my mind. There's inconsistency when you look at it from a governance perspective. So I'd like to propose that we have that consistency, and we have that anticipated understanding that when issues are being dealt with, you reference the third party professional, then it goes to a board. And when we started out, we just had the third party professional. Now we have a board, and the board, not being critical, but the board is an entity unto itself, where they can make major decisions that are affecting, development in our city. And I think that's our responsibility. That's our responsibility. Yep. So I would propose that your committee reevaluate that so that the community can understand that there is going to be consistency, and either council is all in, it's all out. You can't, you can't play the discrepancy card. It has to be consistent. Thank you.
Okay, and again, we're going to get that history report, get that back, written report.
And I'll just say, Councillor Twill, I will add that to our next Planning and Heritage Committee meeting, and you're more than welcome to attend.
Yeah, doors are always open.
Always open.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
And both committee and planning board and design,
Yes,
they're all open.
but this would come under committee, not under the board.
Yeah, doors are open.
For starters, yeah.
Okay. Good. We're ready to go with the first. Are you Mike in there? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out one thing on page 33. I think there was a typo in there. It said, it referenced 1.5 acre when we were talking about reducing the lot sizes. Sorry, I'll just bring it up here.
It should be 0.5.
Should be 0.5, because it says 1.5, reducing it from 1.5 to 1.34. So we talked about 0.5 acre to 0.34
Good.
acre. Just so it be, we don't have many 1.5 residential
You definitely read
acre
your minutes.
size.
That's good.
What?
You read the minutes.
Well, you got to do it.
Could you take note of that?
It's on
Basic.
page 33.
Go ahead. Press your button.
It will come back to committee because these are just draft minutes.
Yep.
So it'll still come back. I'd already made a note of that prior to the meeting, so, yep.
Okay, first resolution there, CAO Eleanor Mohammed.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that Council approves the request to amend the city's Rapid Housing Initiative Agreement with the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation to allow the third-party intermediary, the Minister of Housing, Land and Communities, to reduce the percentage of accessible units to 15% of the total housing units per established accessibility standards, and that the Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts, agreements to implement this resolution.
Yep, do you want to address that?
Sure, I just worked with Donna today and just tried to get a kind of a simpler explanation for this resolution. because I know it seems a little confusing, so I want to thank Donna for helping me with this today. So basically what this is the City of Charlottetown is in a third-party agreement with the Ministry of Housing, Land and Communities to construct an 82-unit housing development at 470 Malbec Road to house members of our vulnerable population. As part of the agreement, the development should include accessible units. The original agreement determined that over 15% of the total units should be accessible. The agreement did not state an exact percentage point above 15%. So, however, the PEI housing communities, through their social housing registry needs assessment, determined that providing 15% or 12 units as accessible would be sufficient. They sought approval from CMHC to reduce the original percentage from 15%. This request was granted and does not go against the terms of the signed agreement. Don is on the phone if anyone needs any other clarification. Thank you so much.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you. Thank you for your synopsis. When I was reading the minutes, I was trying to understand, do we have to be consistent with the provincial standards and what their benchmark is? Or are we going above and beyond with the 15%, or is it 20%? Again, I'm trying to understand and read the minutes to the best of my ability. And is it situation where we can raise the bar? And I'm not saying we shouldn't raise the bar, but are we raising the bar compared to standards at the provincial level? And if we are, do we have the legal right to do that?
Deputy?
Donna's on the phone, and I'm going to let her address this.
But do we, CAO or Donna, do we have any bylaws in place?
Yeah, we're asking
I know,
Donna.
but do we have any bylaws in place right now for accessible housing? Could you, we do? We don't. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, Donna?
Thank you, Your Worship. So, as the CAO has confirmed, no, we don't. However, in terms of Councillor Twill's question, we are in alignment with the province's accessibility standards, and we had to work with CMHC in terms of what they would require as part of their arrangements to get this funding to do this particular housing development with the province. So we are in keeping with what the province requires and also what CMHC asks for in terms of the agreement.
Thank you. Question? Questions called. All those in favor of the first resolution? Okay, 9-0. Okay, next one, please.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that Council approves the proposed Housing Accelerator Fund Implementation Spending Plan, and that the Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute said plan.
Okay. Councillor Twill and Councillor Bernard.
Thank you. When the fund was first announced, and it was referenced by, the city of Charlottetown in terms of the funding, there was different prerequisites looking at different entrances into the city. And one of the concerns was if we were to accept the funding, that development would take place on the periphery of the experimental farm. And I want to make sure before I vote to accept this formula, this proposal, that this in no which way, shape, or form commits the city of Charlottetown to any development along, for example, Belvedere Avenue and University Avenue, or Belvedere Avenue or Mount Edward Road. I just want to make sure that the experimental farm is not compromised in any which way, shape, or form. And this does not put us in a precarious position with the community. I know a lot of members of the community are steadfast in wanting experimental farm to remain green.
Okay.
So I need that clarification, because it was previously in a resolution, and, you know, there was, I don't know, lack of communication or miscommunication, but I've got to make sure. Thank you.
Deputy?
The quick answer is, no, you don't have to worry, that doesn't. This official plan and the 8 initiatives that we have going with the HAF fund don't commit to any particular spot anywhere in the city. This is an overarching, high-level document, and it would be a guiding document. It is not putting us into a corner to commit to any specific thing at this stage. And if anyone else has anything to add to that, but that's my understanding, is that we're not committing to anything right now, except for the spending project and the cities agreed to these 8 initiatives, but it's not conducive to any specific spot. So I don't think you have anything to worry about.
And it never was. There was never, even in the first draft. Councilor Bernard? No, it wasn't. No, someone phoned CBC. Someone phoned with CBC.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Yeah. Oh, let's, please. No? Go ahead.
Question for Councillor Yankoff. I'm just wondering, and I know we had this discussion when this was strategic priorities. So now I'm seeing under these initiatives for the funding, remove exclusionary zoning and permit up to 4 units as a right, as appropriate. Excuse me. So what I'm wondering is, as appropriate through this initiative, what do we consider as appropriate when we look at these lots and decide whether there's going to be 4 units built on it or not? What's deemed as appropriate? And how does the city determine that?
Deputy?
Thank you, Councilor Bernard. I will take a stab at this, and I will look to Manager David and Donna to confirm if I'm on the right path. But my understanding is up to 4 units as appropriate means that every area of the city would have a different appropriate approach. So, for example, if you're in Bell Heights, you're not going to put up a 4-unit architectural-looking apartment building that you might see where other apartment complexes are. You're going to have to make it that it fits into the community. Like when you see in Brighton, you'll see these big heritage homes, and it looks just like a home, but it's really 5 units. So my understanding is that it needs to be appropriate for the area to which it would be developed. Now, if I'm wrong, Donna and David, please correct me, because I know this has been a sticking point for a lot of us, to understand what actually that means and what does that mean. So anyways, over to you, Donna and David. I tried my best, Terry.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm looking for. I need clarification.
Donna? David?
Thank you, Worship. Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Bernard. Oh, yes, Madam Chair, you got it correct. Only to add that we would also be assessing based on any environmental issues that will affect different areas throughout the city, and that all of this would be done on a case-by-case basis, and that this would be done through the updating process of the zoning and development bylaw to ensure that we are in keeping with the character of each community as we assess.
And Councilor Bernard, page 58 on your document, it also refers to the 800-meter radius. This is, again, all pertinent to that 4 units, but it's on page 58, the whole description of it. Councilor Bernard?
Yeah, okay, well, that's all I was looking for, was some clarification, so that when the residents, when there's a 4-lot in a residential area, that there's 1 vacant lot left, that at least the residents will have a say in what that's going to look like, as opposed to, because the other fear is if you have a vacant lot and somebody buys the home next to it, are they allowed to put up an 8-unit in that residential subdivision? Because, you know, when you read this, it says as a right. So, you know, for developers, that's as of right. They buy that lot, they can go build it. So where does the city have that jurisdiction? Is it during the permitting process, where each one of those is looked at individually, and they also look at the design, where it goes to design approval that we talked about earlier? I'm just looking for some clarification. It's great to have in wording, but I'd like to know how the city's going to deal with it.
Okay, Deputy?
Yeah, Thanks, Councillor Bernard. As Donna had pointed out, this will all be addressed when we do the updates to our zoning and development bylaw. So it'll have to be very much documented in that new zoning and development bylaw that will outline the process to which you can have a up to four units in specific areas of the city.
Councillor McAleer and Councillor McKinnon.
Even after we pass.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Brown. I'm on page 61 of the half use of funds, and just on the breakout, I'm curious on the last line item, just the context, if someone could fund to support have initiatives, 2.6 million, let's call it. Can someone give me, I guess, the context to how see that being played out or allocated or accessed? And if I could as well, just on the city positions as well, I know there's expectations and targets and deadlines with this housing partnership. Just wondering how we're doing on the city positions to date. I know there's 1, 2, 3-year targets. Thank you.
Deputy?
Donna, do you want to take this one?
Yes, Madam Chair. So through you, Your Worship, the amount that Council McAleer is referring to is the amount that is remaining after we've allocated to all the initiatives that we have outlined. So the agreed initiatives and also the supporting initiatives that the city will implement to ensure that we get the 8 agreed initiatives right. So the amount that is left there is to facilitate any additional supports that would be needed to ensure that we implement these 8 agreed initiatives. So we've not decided as to how we will spend that money yet, but it will be spent to support the 8 original initiatives.
Okay. Councillor McKinnon? Councillor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question, circling back to Councillor Bernard's when he says, like, as appropriate. Madam Chair, question, like, how does this, when you say it fit in the community, with Hidden Valley, how is it considered that to fit in the community, 6 10-story apartment buildings fits into a residential community? So.
Can you repeat the last part of that question, Councillor McKinnon? I'm sorry.
Sorry, you said like work that's fit into the community when you're looking at permits and developments. So for Hidden Valley, Planning Department approved to put 6 10-story apartment buildings into a residential community. So I'm just wondering how the Planning Department looked at this to say this fits in the community. So was this considered at the time?
Deputy?
Although it's a great question, is this part of this?
That was a site, I think, did we not give it a site specific? Did we not rezone that property?
And I don't know if, I mean, it's a
I think
great
that's-
question, and I'm sure, but I don't know if it fits into the discussion we're having right now. So I would be remiss in asking
go ahead.
the managers to respond to a Hidden Valley question. Maybe if you could send that as an email back to the managers and myself, and we can put that on the next agenda, if you need some more clarification on how we went through that proposal. That's okay.
Councillor McKinnon?
No, I will do that, but I brought it up because it was in your description of fit in the community, so that's why I felt it appropriate to bring it up this time. But I will send an email to your committee. Thank you.
Councillor Twill?
Yeah, so in your synopsis, you referenced, excuse me, you referenced the 8 initiatives, correct? That the 8 initiatives are basically the prerequisite to the funding that council is going to pass this resolution. So if you look at Initiative 8 is to remove exclusionary zoning permit up to 4 units of right as appropriate. It's also something that will be considered in the overall update of the bylaw, specifically intend to enable 4-story buildings within 800 meters radius of the major university campuses and around the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. One aspect of this initiative is also to look at all the environmental issues we face, hence the as appropriate part. So, you know, there it is. I mean, if you look at that, you can't help but come to the conclusion that, you know, that's in around the experimental farm property, because, you know, 800 meters around the university. I mean, where are they talking? Are they talking Mount Edward Road heading north, Mount Edward, or University Avenue heading north? Like, to my mind, if you look at Initiative 8, I mean, that, to my mind, that could be the rationale to go ahead and construct on the experimental farm property. So I think Initiative 8, to my mind, has to be very, very specific. So I don't know if that requires an amendment.
No.
Or back to your committee for further analysis. But I think we got to be crystal clear to the community when we pass this, because, you know, I don't want to vote in favor of something only to have someone later throw up my face and say, well, you voted for it, and sending out emails all over Hex Creation.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
you know, it says it right there under Initiative 8, and you can't help but come to that conclusion that, you know, that's in around the experimental farm property.
Councillor Trio, the council approves the proposed Housing Accelerator Fund implementation spending plan. That's all we're approving tonight. But that, anything we change has to come back to this, but this is to spend the money. Councillor? Go. Yeah, but it's a new initiative on the plan, how we're going to spend it. Deputy?
All I can say is council approved on January 22nd to enter into the Accelerator Fund based on these 8 initiatives. I don't have any other comment for it, but I can certainly turn it over to Donna for some additional clarification.
Well, it's pretty simple here, but Donna, what's your opinion, or David?
Thank you, Worship. Through you, Madam Chair. So this was something that was discussed at length, the concern that Councillor Tweed has in the negotiation aspect of the agreement. And it was clearly stated that this would not be a part of any of the initiatives that would be agreed to. So I don't think this is something that Councillor Tweed needs to be concerned about. Also, that the whole update of the zoning and development bylaw has to go through a public process, consultation process, and so residents or concerned stakeholders will have their say to determine whether this is done or not. So it's not something that we will just get up and do tomorrow without any proper research and assessment. So I don't think this should be a concern.
Councillor Beck?
Councillor Bernard was ahead of me, I think.
No, I have you up there. You're up, your light's flashing, you're ready to go. You're hot.
Yeah, and I think I think the as appropriate part is the kind of unclear part about this whole process. And I know that when we were having those original discussions, much of it hinged on the public consultations with the update of the official plan, and the subsequent update of our zoning development bylaws. So these are the sorts of things I think that when we agreed to this back in January, whenever it was with the understanding that there was going to be further discussions in terms of specifying, clarifying, because I think this was initiated pretty much from the start as maybe something that would require a little bit more analysis or a little bit greater understanding and clarification. So I think the as appropriate, going back, it was put in as because trying to understand that we had outlined some original concerns with the original application that we had made, and I know that Minister Fraser had come back with some concerns. So we had to kind of rework the whole process, if I remember correctly. The one thing I just would like to know is, and I just want to go back to what Donna was saying about, and kind of what Councillor Bernard was asking. When it comes to determining the as appropriate part, who makes that final decision? Is it done at the planning level, or does it come back, does it have to come back here, or where does that, if that were to go, and if we were to go ahead, where does that look like, and how would that unfold?
It's a great question, and that's to be determined because we have not completed our official plan yet, and we've not completed our new zoning and development bylaw. So that will be council's decision when it comes to what we put into that zoning and development bylaw, but we've not done that yet. So that's where we're at with that.
Councilor Bernard.
Thank you, Worship. And I guess the only concern, the reason I bring it up tonight, others probably, because in the resolution, it does say the implementation. So they're asking for the implementation of this plan. So anyway, if it comes back, that's fine. The only other question I'd have is, the illustration that they show, and I'm thinking this is a little exaggerated, but I just want to make sure. Densification, educational institutions, and Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Those circles that are there, is that the areas that they're looking to intensify? So whether it goes out into Hillsborough Park, it goes out into Shell Court, Skyview Park, that's why I asked those questions. I can't imagine it going up that far, is it?
Donna, do you want to take a look at that map to answer Councillor Bernard's question? Because I don't really have the answer.
Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the area within that's shaded with the different colors, those are the areas that we would be looking at to increase densities along the corridors. So it's not that all of the area that is outlined will be densified, but it's to look to do an assessment to see where it would be appropriate to add additional density.
Okay, and then that would come back to council, I assume, Donna, that's part of the official plan then?
It is, and also the zoning and development bylaw will then regulate what happens.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, question? Question's called. All those in favor? All those against? Okay, 8-1, Councillor Twill, opposed. Wow. Can you read the next one?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that council approves the suggested housekeeping amendments pertaining to the following sections of the zoning and development bylaw. 5.9, home occupations. 5.11, tourist accommodations on residential properties. 5.11.2, regulation for a tourist accommodation. 5.11.3, types of tourist home and requirements to obtain provincial license. 19.1.1, apartment residential zone, R4A, permitted uses. 20.1.1, apartment residential zone, R4B, permitted uses. 37.1, port zone, permitted uses. 46, general provisions for parking table. 47.12.4, fascia signs table. 47.14, electronic signs table. 47.3, prohibited signs, and Appendix A, definition of terms.
Oh, Councillor Twill, got a question? Could you point out what section, please?
Cities agreed initiatives. Item 4, to implement a parking strategy to reduce parking requirements and allow for increased density.
That's, no, it's number 3. Page 74.
So it's not there?
No. It would be section 5.9, section 5.11, section 5.11.2, et cetera. Okay. That's the next, is that the next resolution there, Eleanor? No,
okay.
it's down the road. Yep. That's part of the Housing Auxiliary Fund. Okay. Questions called. All those in favor of amendments to the amendments, okay? 9-0. you want to read the next one, please?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that council approve the request for a major variance for 38 McLeod Crescent, PID 636035, to reduce the required minimum rear yard setback from 7.5 meters, 24.6 feet, to be 2.16 meters, 7.1 feet, to allow for the construction of a physical addition, 297 square meters, to an existing industrial building on the subject property.
Okay. Questions called? You got a question? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So, again, reading the minutes, does this impact and affect any neighborhood nearby, or is this strictly industrial zoning? Industrial, so residents that could live nearby this development have nothing to worry about.
Deputy?
It's my understanding it's a fully industrial area.
Sorry?
It's a fully industrial area.
No residents nearby.
No.
No. It's by Williamsworth McLeod. It's out by Williamsworth McLeod and Mount, yeah.
We got a situation up Kirkdale Drive.
Yeah, no, it's in the middle of an industrial zone. Question? Questions called? All those in favor? Okay, thank you. Got another one? CAO?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that council approve the request for a lot consolidation concerning subject properties identified as PIDs 337444 and 337451, and that the approval is subject to the following conditions: that a new perimeter deed description be registered describing the outer boundaries of the consolidated parcels, and that design review approval for any new construction on the new consolidated lot resulting from the merger of the parcels identified as PIDs 337444 and 337451 be confirmed.
Okay, Deputy, you want to take that on first?
I just wanted everyone to understand that tonight, the only thing we're deciding on is a lot consolidation. So whatever the PEI Housing Corporation decides to build there down the road, council's going to see it on many more occasions. So tonight, it is for lot consolidation only. So just to clarify, if you're going to ask me questions about what they're building, what's happening there, we don't have that yet. This is for lot consolidation only.
Councillor Trail.
Thank you. In terms of the lot consolidation, what we do know is that the provincial government is going to construct a building down in that neighborhood. Now, I've read some of the concerns from the residents. They've outlined them. They've had their difficulties, particularly when the outreach center was down in Weymouth Street. We all know what took place there. So, is it copacetic to approve a lot consolidation without first going through the public consultation process? I mean, in terms of a public meeting, because residents did send in emails, but I wonder in terms of, we're talking a major development for this community. And as you pointed out, we're not quite sure what's going to take place, what's going to be constructed there. I have my own thoughts on what the neighborhood could see. But don't you think it'd be advantageous for the province to make a presentation at a public meeting so that the residents can ask the relevant questions in terms of how this is going to impact and affect their neighborhood and all of the concerns, primarily, and safety, security, predictability, consistency?
Deputy.
Great question, Councillor Tweel. And I know that if this is step one, if council does say yes to a lot consolidation, then the next step would be, then that would be one lot. And then the province would then still have to apply to the Planning and Heritage Department and follow the zoning and development bylaw and the processes to which it would happen. So right now, that's what's happening. That's their first step. So to say that the public should have the opportunity to discuss and ask questions around a lot consolidation, that might be a great idea, but that's not the process. So we would have to change the process in order for us to do what you're asking. And if I'm mistaken,
No.
David, maybe you can confirm that for Councillor Twill.
Just, again, just to clarify, for lot consolidation with the CAO here, or legal counsel, that does not require a public consultation. Just for the public record, the CAO? Yep, you want to go to David first? Go. David, can you hear us?
Yeah, Mayor Brown, through the chair, lot consolidations are addressed under Section 48 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw. There are cases where a lot consolidation is required to go to planning board and then for council for confirmation, but there is no written requirement currently in the Zoning and Development Bylaw that would also require that said consolidations be subject to public consultation or public meeting at the present time. So while I really appreciate Councillor Tweel's thoughts here, I certainly understand where he's coming from. We would be exceeding our legal authority if we were to call a public meeting. It would be beyond the boundaries of what the requirements of the current zoning and development bylaw call for in this particular situation.
Councillor Twill, you want to follow up with the question?
You know, the old saying is true, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that's why I raised, you know, when we're talking these developments, and I don't want to stereotype any development for that matter, but, you know, we've had some pretty dramatic experiences here over the last 2 or 3 years, and don't want to put any development in a particular category, but nonetheless, you know, we're going to approve a lot consolidation for a major development that could change the dynamic of that neighborhood. That's my motivation for asking the question.
Okay.
You know, I think it's our job to bring the findings to the community and empower the neighborhood because it is their neighborhood. That's why I asked the question.
Okay. Councillor McAleer.
Thank you, Worship. Am I correct in assuming these PIDs are zoned R1, like residentials? No?
She'll tell you. Deputy?
The adjacent properties, let me see what's in the report. I think it's downtown mixed neighborhood, isn't it? Yeah, it's zoned downtown mixed neighborhood.
Which allows
What
it.
the zoning is. I think that's in the report there somewhere buried in amongst all the information.
Good, John? Councillor McAleer, good? Question? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, 9-0. Do you want to read the next one there, CAO?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that with respect to Section 3.10.3 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw, the applicants be permitted to withdraw their application, site-specific exemption request that concerns the property located at 126 Rochford Street, PID 345744, for which a public meeting was previously held on May 15th, 2024.
Deputy?
Thanks. If you all recall, these folks were in and we had a public meeting around this. They've decided to pull their application and not proceed with purchasing the property. And this is really just a housekeeping thing that is in our zoning and development bylaw that requires council to say it's okay for them to pull their application. And it's one of those items in the zoning and development bylaw that will probably be, you know, council will look at removing down the road because it's just really, it's a formality is all it is.
Councillor Ramsey? Whip? Questions called? All those in favor? Okay. Okay, next one.
City of Charlottetown Amendment, Zoning and Development Bylaw, PH-ZD.2, to adopt bylaw PH-ZD.2-082, a bylaw to amend the Zoning and Development Bylaw, to amend section of the Zoning and Development Bylaw pertaining to 5.93, 5.11, 5.11.2, 5.11.3, 19.1.1, 20.1.1, 37.1, 46, 47.12, 47.12.4, 47.14, 47.3, and Appendix A. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown Zoning and Development Bylaw, PH-D.2-082, as it pertains to the Zoning and Development Bylaw amendments, as attached, be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe.
Okay, shall I carry? Just put, council, return. Absent. Okay. Okay. Anything else? That's it. Thank you, Deputy. And the next item on the agenda is Human Resources, and I think Councillor, oh. I have 6.2, Human Resources. That's here, unless they gave me the wrong agenda. It is? Okay, that's all right. Protective Services? Okay. No, it's 2020.
Am I good to go? Thank you, Your Worship. Or no?
No,
We're good?
Go ahead, sir.
Protective Service Committee met May, 21st of May. The minutes are in your package. We have one resolution for you, for under consideration, sorry. And if we have any questions, I have the Deputy Chief, Sean Coombs, here to help me along the road. Thank you very much.
And your Fire Chief, Tim Mamie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Chief.
Councillor McKay.
Thank you, and thank you for your report. Not really a comment on your report, but more a comment for your staff underneath you with the fire department and our police services responding to a pretty severe fire last night in my ward, where many people were displaced. It was actually very tragic on Alena Court. So I just, the team worked diligently, both police and fire, as well as the Red Cross, and I just wanted to express sincere thanks, and also to express my thoughts with all the residents. Thank you.
Just in the future, if that's to be an announcement, that should come under call to order, because it was stated it was not in the minutes. So I'm just, again, respecting the reports. But it very well done. Councillor Tron, you're good? Okay. Councillor Twale.
I stand to be corrected, but I did read in the newspaper, as a result of your committee meeting, there was reference made to the 6 police officers. But as I go through the report, it's not illustrated in the report, but reference was made to the proposed 6 police officers. Are we any further ahead in terms of the financial commitment? From the province of Prince Edward Island, I've asked for a memorandum of understanding where that financial commitment is there on an annual basis. And I want to know where we're at with that. Like I said, it was discussed at your meeting, it was reported in the press, but it's not in your minutes. But as you know, I've been pretty determined. We passed a resolution here several months ago where the province of Prince Edward Island made a commitment to fund 6 police officers as a result of the development down at the end of Park Street. I'd just like to know, can you give me a status report?
Chair Ramsey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes. The only thing that I can say at this time, Councillor Tweel, which is a good question, the contract's already been looked after from the province for those officers, but it's a HR matter right now is what we're told. And they're for recruitment and everything along that, but it's sitting with the HR and the union right now. So that's all I can sort of comment, and anything else, it's operational. I really can't go down that road with that. Thank you.
Second question, Councillor Tweel.
Thank you, Chair Ramsey. So the contract has been signed, and it's true that the province is paying for those 6 police officers, and we can have an expectation that those police officers are being paid for, those 6 police officers are being paid for on an annual basis. The contract's been signed, correct? So could I get a copy of that contract?
Councilor Ramsey?
I'm going to pass this on to the Deputy Chief, Sean Combs, because it's operational and I'm not signing contracts, so.
Deputy?
Mayor Brown, through council, I believe the question was it signed? It, from my knowledge, has been signed by the mayor and the CAO.
Yeah, it has been signed. Deputy, we just came back from Calgary, and in the plenary session, I believe the Prairie delegation moved a resolution that the federal government provides more money for RCMP in rural Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and BC because they want to up the salaries to attract new officers. They're having a difficult time. And I took a photo of one of the police cruisers in Calgary, and right on the side, it's very clear. They got it right advertised on their side. We are hiring. Join.calgarypolice.ca. Like they're doing everything. So it was at a national forum for the FCM. So we're in the same, I'm sure, the same areas of the police forces. I don't know if you agree or disagree.
Mayor Brown, I do agree with that as well.
No, we've already had your two questions. Oh, go ahead.
Point of order.
Yeah, sure.
You know, what you're stating, what took place at the Canadian Federation of Municipalities, that wasn't the question. The question was, council passed a resolution several months ago where it stated right in the resolution that the province of Prince Edward Island had committed to 6 police officers. And I want to see the contract where that financial commitment, you signed it, CAO signed it, you have authorization to sign on behalf of the city council. So what I'd like to see is a contract where the financial commitment has been made by the province to fund those 6 police officers on an annual basis. So we can add that to the shortage that we have in the Charlottetown Police Department. I'm all in favor of the police officers adding more. You know, anyone knows how important they are.
Yeah.
I do.
We all do.
But the point is, I just haven't seen any evidence or any proof that the province is committed to paying for those 6 police officers. I've been asking every meeting. I mean, it's no mystery here.
Okay. So tomorrow, just drive out to Kirkwood Drive and ask for the police chief, deputy chief, or the deputy chief, and we'll. Well, I don't keep them all, though, keep the contracts. So could you open that door up for them tomorrow?
Mayor Brown, I believe that contract is with finance.
Okay. So he can go upstairs or speak to Director of Finance Administration, Danny Jenkins. Councilor McAleer.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Brown. Just in your committee report, Mr. Chair, last paragraph, it talks about the fire underwriters survey folks were in and look forward to the report in June. I just wondered, Councillor Ramsey or through to the chief, if not certain, I'm just curious, you know, if there's anything more to shed. I realize they're in probably getting clarifying preps, more data, metrics. Just wondered if there's anything different that may be expected that's going to come out of the report, or if there's anything you just might be able to share in terms of what that meeting looked like, and were there any kind of deliberations that you could share with us, and what the expectations may be from what's coming?
Thank you for that, Councillor McAleer. I will try to take a stab at it. As is stated there in our minutes, the report just come in for our fire chief to be looking at, and we will be having a meeting, I think next week, maybe, Chief, and you'll be bringing us up to date in that, and then we'll be bringing council up to date on it too. So, the Chief, you'll get anything to add, or?
No, you nailed it there, Chair. I'll be updating committee at the next meeting, and from there forward on to council.
Okay. Resolution?
Moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Beck. Be it resolved that council enter into an agreement with the Charlottetown Accident Support Services for a 12-month pilot project and that the Accident Support Services will occupy an office at Charlottetown Police Services, where they will provide all equipment and staff required to operate during the hours of 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday. And further, that this will allow individuals that have a motor vehicle accident in the city of Charlottetown an opportunity to report accidents, and the information would then be streamlined to their insurance companies. And that this service be of no cost to the city. And Accident Report Services will provide $1,500 annually to share the costs of general maintenance and utilities. And further, the mayor and CAO will be authorized to execute any standard contracts and agreements required to implement this resolution.
Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. And maybe I have to go back and watch the committee meeting to get more information, but when I read this, there's a lot of questions I have around things such as they're going to be there between 10 and 6. So are police still going to respond if it's 6:30? And is that the plan, that they'll go out and respond to an accident after that time? And have we checked this out with insurance and stuff? To me, I'm just thinking, I know I was in an accident and I didn't call police and drove home with my tire, like I was all out of discombobbled. I don't know how many accidents that wouldn't have a $3,000 minimum damage today. Like, I'm just not really sure. I think I need more information. I'm not feeling overly explained.
Chair?
Yeah, this is only to sign the agreement to go from there. Everything's not etched in stone right now, as Deputy Chief and I were talking. And Sergeant Craswell, I believe, was looking after this file, but we're going to be looking into this. And yes, no matter what kind of accident, and these are the good questions that we asked too. If I get in an accident, am I still allowed to call the police? Yes, you do, and they will still come to an accident. But if it's something between, let's say you and I, and there's a little fender bender, well, we would sort of share our insurance papers and then phone these people, and they would fast track it. Am I correct, Chief? Or I'm Deputy Chief, sorry.
Deputy.
Chair, you are correct. The way it's a pilot project for 1 year, so we'll be following the best practices and the standard operating procedures of some of the other cities that have taken it on, such as Edmonton City. In a nutshell, your small accidents that are mainly just an information exchange, the two parties will come into the police reporting center and exchange the information. That's if everything is, there's no criminal activity, everyone has their proper paperwork. If a driver in an accident feels that there's a situation where the police should be involved, when they call the 911 or the police station, we will come out to the accident.
Can we just go with Twill, and then I got John Green anyways. Councillor Twill.
Thank you. So with this new arrangement, what is the responsibility, or who is responsible for contacting the tow trucking service? So who makes the decision to call the tow trucks? Is it police, or is it now up to the two people that were involved in the accident?
Did you want to take that on, Chair? Oh, okay.
Councillor
Deputy
Twill,
Chief?
the answer to that question would be, if tow trucks were required, like they were on the road from an accident, they should be calling the police station, and the police would come out and they would call the tow trucks that were required, whether it was one, whether it was numerous tow trucks.
Deputy?
Yeah, thanks. I know that the deputy chief made reference to, I think, the municipality of Edmonton are piloting this project, or are doing this. And I'm just wondering, I have two questions. Are any municipalities in the Maritimes trying this yet? And have we checked to see how this has worked out? And my other question is, I'm a little concerned around the ability for us folks who drive to be able to decide whether or not the damage that occurred in a fender bender is $3,000 or more. I mean, just a small little fender bender can be sometimes several $1,000s. So anyways, my most important question was, are there any other maritime municipalities doing this yet?
Chair, did you want to deal with that? Okay.
Counselor, to answer your question, the cities that have entered into this with this company are the Edmonton Police Service, the Belleville Police, and the Peterborough Police. So they have not have tried this in the Maritimes yet. We would be the first. That's why it's a pilot project.
Yes, Chair?
Yes. And just to get back to that, Councillor Beck mentioned, or asked the question too, that if this does get approved, would we be getting updates every 2 months or 3 months on the progress of the whole thing? Am I correct? And the answer was yes. You know, by Sergeant Craswell, is that they will be updating us if this goes through and saying, this is working here, this is not working, so we can sort of go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilor Bernard.
Thank you. Your worship, just when I read it, I think, to me, it's, that's why they're on a trial, but it's another system to be able to speed things up. So there's actions around the city, and you get the action services to handle it. Then so be it, it frees up the police officers to do more work, and if it's a serious accident, they call the police in. So I think it's just, in addition, some help for the police officers, and see how it works out. We've got a year to see how it works out. So, thank you.
Want to call the question, Chair? Question's called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those against? 8-1, 8-2. Deputy, yay, nay? Yeah, 8-1. Councilor McCabe opposed, and Councilor Matard absent. Okay. 8-1, Councilor Matard absent. That's it? Okay. Next report, Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Activities. Councilor Mitchell Tweel.
Thank you. Members of council. The report is in your package. We will be meeting again this Friday. If there's any questions or any concerns or any recommendations, fire away. Thank you.
No resolutions. Department's being run very well. Okay, we can move on. Yes. And next is Water and Sewer. Councilor Duran. Hold on, Councilor Duran. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. The Water and Sewer Utility Committee had a special meeting on May the 30th. I don't have any resolutions for your considerations. The report is listed, so if you have any questions or concerns, I think we meet next week, I guess, so I'll be willing to answer anything that you have in your mind. Thank you.
Councilor Tweel. That's.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Duran. As you know, when the resolution came forward last month with regards to the city council entertaining a resolution to award a third party to come in and do an evaluation of the fiber optic. There was some confusion here on the floor. I moved to deferral so that the contractor, service provider, would come in and meet before council. Not sure where we're at with that. I moved that deferral. The deferral was supported by City Council. So just wondering when we can have that meeting. So we can ask the relevant questions. I know it's gone to your committee now a couple of times, and service provider's been there, and good dialogue between the mayor and the service provider. But I think all members of council have to be engaged, and I'll ask maybe for the 35th time with respect to the contract. Now, I don't know if you have a contract or the contract was presented to the committee, but where are we at with the contract? If you could shed some light as to the status of the contract.
Chair Duran?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Brown, and thank you for your question, Councillor Tweel. In the minutes of the package that everyone has here, the last couple of lines says the managers to have Williams, Murphy, McLeod attest to the completeness of construction, conduit, vaults, and fiber. So the manager and the legal lawyer we have, Jordan Brown, are to create a report including the letter from Williams, Murphy, McLeod stating the work is complete. So all the questions that you're asking, the manager and the legal and the contractor, they're all going to get a summary for us, and they'll forward to us, and we'll give it a copy for you.
Do you want to answer that phone?
So are we permitted to see the contract? I think you have a contract, Mr. Mayor. Copy the contract?
Well, Councillor Duran,
I mean-
can he finish? Councillor Duran?
So.
Oh, wait, now we need one sitting down. Do you
Pardon
want?
me?
Yeah, go ahead then. What do you want?
Thank you,
Second
Bob.
question.
So, I've asked for a copy of the contract. Like, I'd like to start there. Now, I understand, some members of the city corporation at the elected level have a copy of the contract, others don't. So, where are we at with copies of the contract, and should they not be all submitted to all members of city council? And again, I want to reiterate, and I appreciate the report, and the engagement of Williams, Murphy, McLeod. But what I did ask, and maybe that'll come in the heels of that report, what I did ask was that I believe it'd be prudent for contractors to come in, service provider, so we can have that dialogue and, to get a status of where we're at in terms of the installation of the fiber optic and all the other outstanding issues that have been addressed or need to be addressed. I'd like to become more informed. That's my motivation as to raising the question. And as you know, Chair Duran, I have been consistent asking these relevant questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor
Chair Duran?
Tweel. Yes, you have been consistent. I
Yeah,
must-
and he sat on the committee.
But this is what happened. Yeah, this is what happened. Everyone came in to discuss this at our special meeting. The general contractor wasn't available to come in and answer the questions. We were hoping that he was going to be there. So, we sat around for an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. We discussed it, tried to get the answers that we could. There's great dialogue, and at the end of it, the manager, the contractor, the legal representative, they're all going to give us a report on what had happened and where we're at, where we're going. I myself haven't seen the contract, but, I'm assuming that's not for me to see, but whatever. They're going to give us a summary of where we're going, where we've been, and what we have to do to complete it. The manager was working, after the meeting. They all sat around, they started right away. So I'm hoping we'll get that report back, and once we get it back, you'll be entitled to a copy. And then if the questions aren't answered then we could do the process again. But like I said, I'm hoping after that hour and 45-minute meeting that their good summary would be there. We'd give it to all of council, and we could make a decision, an informed decision at that time. So,
Thank you.
Anything else you need, go right ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor McAleer.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Yeah, just on this subject, I'd just like to maybe share my comments. I know I've viewed that meeting or that committee meeting twice now, and just to try to understand some of the history around this, let's call it the fiber op project. And I know one of the big sticking points with, I guess, the contractor is he's wanting this contract to get signed with an IRU. And I had no idea what an IRU is, but anyway, I looked up the definition, and I was kind of shocked. Wow. So, yeah, just for the record, an IRU is a type of telecommunications lease permit contractual agreement that cannot be undone between the owners of a communication system and a customer off that system. the word indefeasible means not capable of being annulled or voided or undone. Anyway, and then it goes on, but anyway, so I think, that's at the committee level. It's going to come to recommendations for council. I guess this has been going on from a prior administration, prior CAO, how I guess this thing got started. But I know personally, I have no interest in supporting something that I don't know what the full ramifications are. And from what I understand, I think the contractor's looking for a long-term lease signed, and I'm a far away from putting my hand up on this until we kind of know more about it, and there's a whole lot more questions answered. Thank you.
Chair Duran, we don't have a resolution, do we?
No.
Okay.
No, but thank you for your comments. No one asked you to put your hand up yet, Councillor McAleer. If you read the report, it states, like I stated earlier, that the manager is to have the contractor, the general contractor, attest the completeness of construction, the conduit, the vaults, and the fiber. Now, the manager, the general contractor, and her legal team are to create a report, including the letter from Williams Murphy McLeod stating the work is complete. And at that time, it'll be given to council, and then we can decide. So nobody's asking for anything here until the people in question, the subcontractor, the general contractor, or legal team, or manager, they have to sit down and come up with all the questions and all the answers and give us the recommendations of what we are looking for. And at that time, once we have all the information, then at that time, it'll be coming to council to see what we're going to do. And then you'll have an informed report, and then at that time, you can be asked to vote for it or not.
Thank you, Councillor Duran. Thank you. Okay, good discussion. Public Works, Councillor McCabe. 4 resolutions.
We do have 4 resolutions, yes. So our Public Works Committee met on May 22nd. The draft minutes are in your package. The Civic Board for Persons with Disabilities met on May 21st. Those minutes are also in your package. You will see an updated spreadsheet regarding capital project updates, as well as, we already know, 4 resolutions for consideration. I will be ready to speak to the speed hump resolution once it's read. If there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Okay. Now, the chief engineer is, did he take a phone call outside, or? Oh, no, he's gone somewhere. Okay, do you want to read the first resolution?
Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor McAleer. Be it resolved that council supports the Civic Board for Persons with Disabilities recommendation to host an annual awards ceremony for those individuals, groups, or businesses who have made a significant effort to improve accessibility within the city of Charlottetown. And that council agrees that these awards will be handed out annually beginning in the fall of 2024.
Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those against? Okay, 9-0. Councillor McTaggart, absent. Okay.
Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor McAleer. Be it resolved that council approve the additional funds required to complete Kent Street lighting upgrades in the amount of $37,500 plus all applicable taxes, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay, Councillor Twill.
Question, the manager through the chair. Tell me how much money was this project over budgeted, and why was it over budgeted?
Councillor McCabe.
I'm going to allow the
Defer?
chair to answer that question.
Okay.
Or the manager.
Okay. We'll defer to the chief engineer.
Your worship, through to Councillor Twill. So it kind of goes back to this project was started in 2022, so the budget was done up in 2022 when all the funding was being gathered from the various proponents. And so couple factors, of course. We're 2 years away, and we know prices have gone up over the years significantly, so that's part of the increase. And the other increase was the original intent for excavation down there was to open trench everything. Unfortunately, with conventional means. Unfortunately, just because when the contractor showed up, started doing all the locates and how tight all the underground infrastructure is in that area, they had to hydro excavate. So that added an additional cost as well. So between those two items, just the timeline and the extra excavation, that is why there's about a $75,000 shortfall. And we're very grateful that CADC has come on board and they believe in this project and want to see it completed. And so they've kind of taken the role of project managing it, get it done, and willing to split the difference with the city on the additional cost.
Okay. Question? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. All those against? 8-1. Councilor Duran opposed, and Councilor Matera absent. Okay. Next resolution, please.
Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor McAleer. Be it resolved that Council adopts the amended Public Works Policy entitled Temporary Speed Hump Policy, attached here too, and that this policy shall take effect on January 1st, 2025.
Okay. Councilor McCabe, do you want to address that first?
I'm going to try and decipher the language of the engineer world, and then they're going to jump in and help me, because I know there's been lots of discussion. It's not the first time we've tried to bring this to council, but it was trying to understand. The big discrepancy in here was, councillors having a say as far as where speed humps are placed was one debate, and that has been explained well. And also the amount of speed humps that will be placed determining by wards. So they've sent out all that information. I wanted to clarify that, Riley has explained for me the staff role in the process, the overall benefit for the city, but for us as councillors, what our role would be to be able to provide no different than we're doing now. When our residents are calling us all the time complaining about the speeds on their streets, we tend to let them know the process, right? They fill out the form, they have to get the residents around them to sign it. We can then advocate to say to the Public Works staff, I'm getting a lot of calls about Heather Avenue, for example, a new street that nobody really would have been on the radar, except it was paved, it's a wide street. A lot of people have moved into the area, and now speeding seems to be an issue. So we've kind of triggered that process. They've got their application in. I can validate, as a city councilor of the area, I'm hearing a lot about that area is a concern. That's our role, in their opinion, that we can advocate to an area maybe where they wouldn't have once thought was an issue as the ears to the ground. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I know Councillor Yankoff was concerned about us becoming involved in operational decisions. It's not a decision, it's more a collaboration, I think, from what I understand. And Scott, if there's anything that you would like to throw in to contribute to that, I would appreciate it, but that was the big point I just wanted to clarify for.
Chief Engineer?
Your Worship, so the other thing too, just to kind of further elaborate on Councillor McCabe's statement there, from a council perspective as well, with the allocated number of speed humps, there'll be some times that we'll have to look at, some streets are quite long, and right now, typically we just only put one speed hump per road, but there are sometimes some roads require 2 or 3, and that's where that collaboration comes in with the councillor as well. Like, is this the street that needs 3 versus another street? How do we make that distribution a little bit fair for that for the residents in those wards? So again, as she mentioned, it is a collaborative approach is the approach that we want to take. And give the council an avenue to advocate for the residents, and you folks are the ones out in front and center with all the residents, and you're hearing everything that we may not be hearing. So it's good information that we would like to hear from you folks as well.
Councilor McCabe, do you want to follow up with that?
And I want to clarify that I think it's just important that regardless, they're still going to have to meet the existing criteria that's in place, right? They put that out a few years ago. We adopted that, like dead-end roads and, certain bus routes, different things that aren't going to qualify no matter how many complaints we get in. So it's having that opportunity to have discussion and to better communicate. Ultimately, I think it will be staff that determine at the end whether or not it's the right fit based on the data that they collect and the criteria that we have, but hopefully we'll be able to partner and make sure that our residents' voices are heard.
Councillor McKinnon, do you have a question, comment, concern?
Thank you, Your Worship. Question and comment, I guess. And I guess follow up on what Councillor McCabe had mentioned about operational elected officials, where it says in the report, providing elected officials more input for locations of speed humps. And I was still always told operational, stay away from operational, but being asked to have input, and so that's one of the reasons I'm opposing this resolution. I have an incident or an issue out on Irwin Drive where I've been in correspondence back and forth with Manager Adams and discussions back and forth. And we were told last council meeting that if 2024 is going to be status quo for locations of speed humps this year. And Madam Chair, on Irwin Drive, the speed hump was moved. So my question is, if a resident goes through the process or has in the past went through the process to get the signatures to have a speed hump put in front of their house, is it not for that house or is it for the street? Because when I look through the list, that specific house is on the application for that speed hump. This year, that speed hump was moved to another location, and that resident would like to have it back in front of their house. So my question, you got it?
No, and I did get briefed on this situation today. From what I understand, the placement of that speed hump might not be as effective as it could be where the engineers felt if it was moved a little bit, it might be in a more effective spot, but I think there was going to be some negotiation and discussion for this year till this policy moved on. Not sure. That'll be up to the manager. Again, I think sometimes it's the street location and they're determining what and where and how and why. That's the operational piece. Anyway, Scott, maybe you want to further answer that.
Chief Engineer?
Your Worship, through to Councillor McKinnon. So yes, an application is not for a specific household, it's for a street. So the goal is, regardless of the individual who petitions or creates a petition and goes out and gets support for that speed hump, we look at it from a holistic approach for that street. So sometimes there may be an individual lives on a corner or on an intersection that may be the one signing off on the document, but it never makes sense to put a speed hump at an intersection. It's a bit of a hazard. So we would move it, mid-block, or maybe it's near a mailbox or something like that. There are a number of factors we look at. So it's not necessarily specific to a household. It's specific to the road, and it's placed based on where we think it's going to be the most effective for that section of the street.
So, Councillor McKinnon, we're going to let Councillor Bernard go, and we'll come back to you, please. Councillor Bernard.
Thank you, Your Worship. And Councillor McCabe, in her description, described it perfectly, the way that the program's been going all along. So I have to wonder why we're reviewing this or why we need to change the policy. It's been working great. I think, well, I know the department, whether it used to be with police and now it's with Public Works, but they always determined you had the request come in, they went out and evaluated, they made a recommendation where the speed bump was going. So I'm not sure why all of a sudden we want to change the policy that's in place when it's been working. The only thing I can surmise from it is that the department doesn't want to put down any more speed bumps, because the last time we talked it was 100, and then it was decided to buy another 25. So now it's 125. Now, when I look at these numbers, some of the questions I have, I don't like it at all, to be honest with you. There's going to be some elected, you look at the numbers, some wards are going to have 6, some are allowed 16, 17. You measure up some streets. Well, I could tell you in my area, I don't know if you take into account blind hills, blind turns, downhills where vehicles pick up more speed. I know in Hillsborough Park, you've got a high number of the small parks. Children are always crossing roads coming and going. They're heading to the parks, to the playgrounds, the community center, tennis courts, the basketball courts, or the multipurpose facility. The other issue I find in Hillsborough Park is we have, because of the way it's been designed, there's a high amount of drive-through traffic on a lot of these streets. So when you have the blind hills, and when you have the downhills, and the people don't live there, you get a higher incidence of speeding traffic. So I'm kind of looking at what we have now, and I'm looking at this and saying, okay, so if you went by this policy, there's going to be 9 speed bumps allowed in all of Ward 10. And I think there's like 19 now that have been approved by the city. Staff went out and looked at the streets, approved it. So I guess if we go with this policy, I guess for some of us, we're going to go back and say, you know what, you had them there before, we approved them, but you're only allowed to have 9. Sorry. So your street's not considered a danger anymore. So I got a big problem with that. I don't know what the demand is now. We've had speed bumps for a number of years. I don't think there's a big high demand anymore. But you know what, as the city grows, you will get that, as you talked about, Councilor McCabe, about Heather Avenue. So I think the program, the policy that we have in place, unless somebody could tell me what's wrong with it, I would just leave it as it is. But I'm definitely not going to vote for this resolution, probably not the next one, to put a cap on it. Because you're tying the hands of elected officials, and we have to respond to the constituents. So these become safety issues. The department goes out and evaluates it, and either agrees or doesn't agrees. The program's been working, so you know what? I'm not going to agree to these. Thank you.
Councillor McCabe.
Thank you. That's why we're in here. We get to vote at the end to decide what people want. Scott, it might be nice if you could just talk about what you're also, they're always looking at trying to improve traffic measures within the city. We know speeding's an issue across the city. And maybe you could just speak for a minute about one new thing you're going to try out this year.
Chief Engineer.
Your Worship, through to Madam Chair. I appreciate you prompting me on that one. So the goal of any temporary speed hump should be, the key word is temporary. They should not be the long-term solution to any traffic controlling or traffic calming measure. There should be a number of tools in our toolbox that we use that we need to start doing to deploy them as we can. We started that a couple years ago with Harley Street, looking at a chicane on that road, which made an impact definitely for local traffic on that one. And that's just one of the tools we're looking at to start deploying around the city. So this year, we've reached out to a couple councillors already. There are 2 roads that we've identified on our street resurfacing program this year that would either already have an existing speed hump or would benefit from a speed hump because we have applications in. And so we've reached out and identified 2 of those streets. We will be notifying those residents here in the near future about that as well. And what we're going to do when we pave the road, we're going to install permanent speed humps on those streets. If you're familiar with Halifax, Halifax has a number of these around the city in Halifax. They're much more gradual and they keep speeds down to, under that 40 mark where we want to be. And this is the ideal time to install them, is when you're resurfacing the road, because it's a nice seamless transition, and it will hopefully last a long time. So that's what, again, we're working on a number of these tools in our toolbox to correct these issues, and so that way when we install permanent ones, then we can reallocate those temporary ones on another street as well.
Councillor McKinnon, second time.
Thank you, Your Worship. Question for the manager.
Just go through the chair and then Chief.
Sorry,
Yeah,
to the chair.
please.
When the manager answered my last question, he responded back that the speed humps per street are more for the street itself and not a civic address. Correspondence that came out today to us from the manager indicated where the speed hump was specifically in front of a civic address, and that civic address that's on my report here is from the civic address of the resident that filled out the application for the speed hump. So why are they not putting it back in front of this resident's house that filled out the application that wants the speed hump on a dangerous turn where people are ending up in her yard because they're going too fast?
Excuse me, Councilor McCabe, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. I think my understanding, and I'll let you confirm that, is that until a new policy would be adopted, that we are going to go status quo this year, but in this whole process of adopting this, they will be reevaluating and looking at best places to place these speed humps with the new policy. Scott, is that not what we understood?
Chief Engineer.
Your Worship, through the Madam Chair and the Councillor. So status quo, just because it was installed in front of that house, every year we do adjust speed humps, regardless if it was in front of a particular house one year. Sometimes it gets moved. I know there's been one or two other speed humps we had to adjust already. One individual works, I believe they work at night and sleep during the day, and they were complaining about the noise, so we adjusted it. So even though when we stay status quo, that means for the street, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go right in front of the same household. And the other safety factor, or the other factor that we took into play with that, I understand the turn. I know the turn that you speak out quite well. Yes, we did notice a lot of vehicles were tracking off the road onto the inside of that turn because they were taking it too sharply or too fast. Well, now there's a sidewalk there, and that was part of the design feature, or why we put the sidewalk on that side, was to keep vehicles off the people's front yards and keep them on the street. And we have seen already that sidewalk does in fact reduce speeds. It makes the road feel a little more narrower, and it helps control that. So by the sidewalk being installed, we want to move that speed hump away from the turn a bit, so that we get a traffic calming further, or a longer area of traffic calming on that street.
Okay. Councilor Ramsey?
Thank you for your report, Councillor McCabe. And I'm just sort of piggybacking on Councillor McKinnon's. I had one, I just noticed, in fact, today when I was going up one of the streets, it's moved close to the north of a road and was down at the end of Memorial Drive. Maybe you answered that question already. That was one street that one lady maybe was sleeping at night or something. But this is, like, it's not really helping things where it was moved. And I just noticed it today, but it was more down around the corner where they were speeding around the corner there. So I was just wondering what was the story in that. Maybe got a phone call or something, I don't know.
Could you direct the question to the chair, Councilor Ramsey? Oh,
Okay, that's good.
Just wanted to make sure.
Your Worship, through the Councillor,
Chief
so that's,
Engineer.
I'm aware of that one. I'm waiting here for a response from my team. I'm not sure if that is the specific one, but as soon as we know, we will reach out, one of the homeowners. Correct, one of the homeowners reached out to us as well, and so I haven't got a brief from from the team yet, so once I hear back from them, we'll keep everyone in the loop.
Okay. Councilor Bernard, second time.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to let you know that the manager who mentioned about traffic calming measures and looking to move in, and that's great. And I think the conversation I had with them last year was, if there's an idea for traffic calming, they want to do it permanent, that the speed bump stay down until that measure comes in. So that was one thing. And I think the speed humps, like I said earlier, it was always, you did what you explained. You put your request in, or the residents put the request in, staff would go out and look at it, make a recommendation. And it usually, my experience has always been, it goes back to the same location, unless there's a reason to move it. It always went back to the same location. But I haven't heard anything yet. I guess one of the questions I asked when I first got up was, what is the reason we're looking to change the policy that we already have in place? And again, when you explain how it works, it's exactly the way it's working now. So I'm just wondering why we're trying to reinvent the wheel.
Councilor McCabe, just let me move you down there.
Yes, just to be perfectly frank, when we look at the numbers, and I'm sure from what I understand, it's to disperse, maybe based on the roadways, more of a equitable representation of speed humps in different wards. And Scott, you can help me with this, but if you look at what we do have in 2023 with 75 speed humps, what's being proposed with the new speed hump of 100, and I know we're asking for 125, but it is fairly disproportionate, and I think it's that we now know speeds increased and there's an issue everywhere, and how it's been presented to us that this would just disperse these a little bit more equitably and fairly across the city. But Scott, if that's not correct?
Why cap it?
Go ahead, Chief Engineer.
Your worship, so that's correct. So we're a lot of kind of spearhead it was. We've gotten a number of comments from various councillors and other folks about, speed humps in various wards, just asking, how do we get more speed humps in certain areas, or how do we come up with a fairer way of sharing speed humps around the city? And this is one solution that we came up with. If there's another solution, then we can try to look for other ones, but this is one way we came up that we thought could distribute the existing speed humps that we have, adding another 25 at a minimum to that complement, so that we can improve traffic calming measures around the city.
Deputy Mayor, can I just go to the Deputy Mayor, and can you respond from her question?
Thank you. I have two questions for the chair. One is in the resolution, it's just maybe a housekeeping question. It doesn't indicate in the resolution if we're looking at option A or option B. I know the last time we were here, we talked about option A, but it's not in the resolution. So we've got two of them in the report with read-it in areas where we can choose, but I don't know which one we're going with. And my second question is, so for status quo for this year, what happens next year if a ward has a lot more than the allocated amount, but the safety concerns are still there? Would the common sense approach not be that everyone should just have more speed humps in each ward? And as his worship said, I think in the last Public Works meeting, he said, like, notice a motion, or let's just add more speed humps. And I see we're adding 25 more, but why put the limit on it? If safety is a concern and we don't have the option yet to create long-term fixes, I just say, why not have a few more speed humps? But anywho, I guess my really only question for you, Chair, is are we looking at A, or, like, is it A or B that's tonight's even on the?
Okay. Yes, McCabe.
Yep, I think it's 2 based on the report. Option B, option A, what is it? Option A, so that would be, it's option A. As far as the buying more, I asked the question myself, and it's the time and cost to put these down. And it's told we want to do that, then there's going to be a crew dedicated to that, and spring cleanup and plow damage cleanup, and those things aren't going to happen. It does take time, is the answer I was given, and so it's a human resource issue if you're going to go around and by the time they take them down and put them up. That was the answer I was given. Again, if you can better clarify.
It's like Christmas time when we put up the lights, we hire extra, like, crew comes in to do that. Yeah. Okay, Chief Engineer.
Your worship, through the Councillor McCabe, so that's correct. So right now we install about 75 speed humps that take approximately 3 to 4 weeks to install. So right now, the current plan was to add only 25 extra, which is probably about a week and a half worth of work. If we wanted to go to 125, we're looking at probably another 3 weeks of work. So we're getting close to 2 months to install these things. When you get to 2 months of installing them, some of them, we're getting a much shorter window of getting them all out and effectiveness. So that's one big challenge. The other one's is there's also the cost with them, of course. We have to have spots to store them. Every year we spend close to $20,000 on new hardware just to put them back down again. So again, there's another $15,000 to $20,000 on that. So the costs start to add up very, very quickly. And again, with the limited resources, the limited staff, the limited equipment to put this stuff down, something will have to fall off at the end of the day. There's only so much room on our plate for work to do. And so if that's the direction council wanted to go, then something would have to fall off the plate.
Okay. Councillor Beck.
Thank you for that, Scott. I don't have anything to compare this to in terms of a prior policy or anything like that, but I do have to comment that I think this is very comprehensive. I think that the policy has it's taken a lot of perspective in. I think it's, it's been analyzed very well, I think, in terms of looking at it on a, not only on an equitable part, but just in terms of a what makes sense part. And I think that's been something that, if we're looking at any policy, I think it really has to make sense. So I'm in support of the initiative that's being put forth, and I think there's been a lot of time and effort put in on the Public Works part, and a lot of good reflection, I guess, if you will. I guess I'm just a little, we're bandying around, and I appreciate your breaking down there, Scott, in terms of the numbers. I mean, the easy thing is, let's just get more, let's just do whatever. But there are implications with that, and I appreciate you sharing that with us tonight. We just received here from you, and I'll direct this to the chair maybe, or it's one of the two can answer. When I'm looking at the 2023 totals, it has our numbers listed there. And then again, my understanding was that we are going to be working with the same speed humps as they were allocated last year. But then it shows 2024 with a different total and bumping it up to going from 75 to 100. So for this year, is there going to be additional speed humps coming into the wards? Is there going to be 25 more coming? Or are we staying at the 75 that we've already put in place based on last year's allocation? Because, we're seeing 75 this year, 100 on this sheet. We're going to have a motion coming forth looking at 125. So just for this year, are we done for this year, or are there more coming towards us? I'll direct that to the chair, and she can.
Councillor McCabe. Just 1 second. Hold on. Go ahead.
Sorry, I know they're waiting right now for some new hardware and some new parts to come in, so I'm assuming that there's going to be some put down this year, but I think this policy that we're looking at, he's looking to have this implemented for January 2025, based on, isn't that what the resolution read?
Chief Engineer.
Your Worship, through to Madam Chair. So how the current policy works is essentially first come, first serve. If you get your application in, you're on top of the list, we review it, meets the criteria, and we have a speed hump, it gets deployed. So that's so what we've been waiting for is to see what direction which policy council would like us to continue with. And if we want to continue with the existing policy, we can do that for sure. And the additional 25 that I think some components are in, and we're still waiting for a few. But as we have all the materials that are available, then we'll start reviewing or start reviewing those requests that have already come in. And again, based on first come, first serve, we'll be deploying them out. The goal with the policy was with the change in policy was to kind of avoid the first come, first serve and put them in the areas, have enough in each area so that we can deploy them when there is an issue in that area versus, only a few wards taking all of them or the bulk of them in a few wards because of first come, first serve. So that's really, so the goal would be, so it depends on the outcome on this of our discussions, which policy we're going to play out. Yes, we do plan to get those 25 out as we review the applications, but it depends on which direction which policy council wants us to go with. So if we're continuing with the old way, we'll just do it based on a first come, first serve basis. If we're going in the new direction, then we'll look at, we got to start balancing out the wards based on the distribution that we presented in the policy and the resolution, or in the information that you presented. So again, that's why, not all the materials are here, but that's why we haven't announced where new speed humps go until we know which direction or which policy we're going to be following.
Councillor McCabe, can Councillor Tweel ask his question first? Councillor Tweel.
I think when you look at this whole issue of speed humps and more speed humps and the ban for traffic calming measures, we do have another option, and that option is Charlottetown Police Department. talking about, adding more police officers, 6 more by the province, 18 more. I'm not sure what the number is that council's finally agreed to, but nonetheless, we have one police officer out there that's doing traffic enforcement. He's doing a heck of a job. He's doing a fantastic job. But the city this size, the amount of traffic throughout the city, population growth, there's more traffic on our city streets. We just can't become a city of speed humps and speed bumps. We do need traffic enforcement as well, particularly in the school zones, in around the playground areas, sports fields, construction zones. So I think, Scott, I think senior management has to look at and have discussions with police as well, and to bring back the traffic unit, whether it's the northern part of the city, in Ward 10 or Ward 9, in through the heart of the city or downtown. I think we need that balance. So that's something that council should be exploring as well.
Well, as Councillor Duran said, Councillor Twill, you're consistent. You've been saying that since when I was on council, but I agree. Yeah. Hold on. Councillor McCabe, do you want to speak to that, or do you want the other speakers to ask their question? Go ahead. Okay. Deputy?
This is my second question, so.
Thank you.
If it's option A, why can't we just amend the policy then and increase it to the 125 and it's for next year? I mean, we're status quo for this year and then amend the policy to increase it to 125, or throw it back to committee for now to work out some of these hiccups that seem to be in the room already, and bring it back, in the fall, since it's already status quo.
So you're asking to put a friendly amendment?
Either a friendly
Amendment.
sure.
So it's moved by Councillor McCabe, second by Councillor Matt. Well, what's that?
The next resolution is for 125.
Well, is that the next one? I didn't have that. I don't have that. Okay. So we can add that to the next. Is that what we can do? Is it? This is to amend Public Works Committee number 3, and then number 4 is to, is that the 100? Is that what that on number 4 is?
First one is to approve.
Yeah?
The next one is to make it 125.
Okay, so you can amend that one. Is that 50 more compared to last year? Yeah, so am I. Okay, go ahead there.
I think what's ahead of us now is we've already bounced this around and back and forth between committee. Is either we're going to look at dispersing speed humps based on road kilometers and, like I said, input from councillors as well as staff evaluation to make sure it fits. There's actually 3 that have been pointed out for Ward 9. Actually, I only have 9 because 2 of them are the old, you're operating on the old scale. So it looks good. But we all have to look at where does it make the most sense based on where you're going to accumulate your most speed. I know change is hard. If they make sense, whatever, it's in front of us. We've bounced it back and forth, and now I think it's just time to decide whether we're going to go with roadway kilometers and speed humps. There's not a whole lot more we're going to be able to really discuss, I don't think, at this point.
Yep, just to clarify, look at the spreadsheet that you sent out today, Chief Engineer Scott. For 2022, 2023, we have 75, right? For the next year, 24, 25, we will have 125 in the next resolution. That's in the next resolution, correct? So that's an additional 50. That should be good. Question's called. Question, Public Works Committee number 3, that council adopts the amended Public Works policy entitled Temporary Speed Hump Policy attached hereto. That's what we're voting on. Number 3. Yeah, that's the next resolution. Okay. Questions called?
Questions called. Hold on.
Yeah, what's?
I have a question. Sorry, Bob.
This is your second time? Yeah.
Well, no,
Yeah,
sure, okay. So, just so so this motion says, motion number, are we on motion number three, right?
Three.
Okay. So adopt the public works policy, temporary speed hump policy. In a report, there's option A and option B.
We're going with option A.
Okay, so
Option A.
again, I'm just clarifying. Make sure that we're voting to adopt option A as our policy and not to go with the status quo that is there right now and work moving. So then if we go with the 25 more speed humps that are allocated for this year, they would be allocated within the spirit of option A. Am I correct? I don't know, I'm just looking for a bit of clarification on that.
Chief Engineer.
Because Scott said earlier that depending on what council decides will depend on how the rest of those 25 speed bumps will get allocated. So we're going from, looks like we're going from 75 to 100. There's another motion here to go to 125,
Correct.
which is a separate thing. But, so for right now, we're being asked to approve option A. That's the one that we are going to adopt.
Yep.
Okay.
Is that clear?
And
Yes,
just the second
yes.
part of my question, if I could
Yes.
ask that through to the chair, will we be dispersing of the remaining humps under, how will those 25 be dispersed for the rest of this year?
Councilor McCabe. Hold on. Go ahead.
I would assume they're going to operate the same way we've been operating because this policy, the way I read it, takes effect January 1st, 2025. So it won't take effect till that time, but I'm going to let the manager clarify.
Chief Engineer.
Your worship, through Councilor Beck. So we do have a few applications in,
Yeah.
and so like looking at the report, if you guys choose option A, if there is, for instance, because of, Ward 10 would be reducing, we wouldn't look at any applications that are in Ward 10. We would look at other wards that don't have as many or have none, and try to begin that distribution, working towards that January 1st goal of the whole program being allocated in January 1st. I hope that makes sense, but those new 25 will be allocated to those wards that don't currently have their appropriate allocation as defined in option A.
Good. Okay. Question's been called. No. You spoke twice, guys. Look, no, I'm just sticking to the rule. And you've spoken twice. The deputy's spoken twice. Councillor Beck's. Discussion's done. Question's been called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Just 1 second. Just keep them up. Councillor Twill, McCabe, Beck, Duran, Ramsey, McAleer. Okay. Those against? Councillors McKinnon, Bernard, and the deputy. Okay, 6-3. Want to go to the next one?
Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor McAleer. Be it resolved that council accept the recommendation to deploy 125 temporary speed humps each year as per the Public Works temporary speed hump policy.
Okay. Councillor Bernard?
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is really good because Ward 10 now it's going to lose speed bumps to other wards. So now you're putting a wedge between all the elected officials. When you could have had status quo, you could have had the program as it was. But now, as we hear the manager say, no, nothing's going to be looked at in Ward 10. Matter of fact, they're going to take some out. So who's going to tell the residents when the speed bumps don't go back in 2025 where they were? Who's going to be the ones that tell them, sorry, city doesn't have enough because we don't have the money to afford it, but we have a little over $2 million to give staffing to hire management positions, but we don't have any money to buy the hardware or hire a crew to put speed bumps down. I'd really like to know who's going to send that message out to the constituents.
Councillor McCabe, question to you.
Well, I would hope with any good communication that we're going to have to put out a message to let people know that something's changing and that's going to happen, and that would fall on the staff to be able to do that, I would suspect.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Yankoff.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to the chair, I'm just curious now so if this new policy now has been approved this evening, option A, so these no matter what the policy is, now if we approve this resolution, whatever that policy is, there's going to be 125 speed humps. Is that, if I'm understanding that correctly?
Councillor McCabe?
If you approve that, then there would be, it would be bumped up to 125.
Councillor Drown?
Thank you. So, I mean, be bumped up in the budget process for next year, is that correct?
They're asking us to buy them this year, Bob.
Okay, so that'd be a new expenditure?
Correct.
Okay. But, you know, coming from, for years, I've been asking for speed bumps, and we never had any. So, you know, my ward suffered, so I started this a long time ago, asking, can we make it equitable between all wards, so everybody can have some? And that's where I agreed to a new policy, just for the fact that, you know, it can't say, okay, number one ward has so many, and my ward, we only have 2. Then the residents say to you, well, how come you can't get as many as, I can drive around number 1 or 2 or 3 ward, and what, are they better counselors? So, you know, I have to say thank you for trying to make it equal. I mean, we can't have a speed bump on every street, but if they're equitable, and staff, you know, I might have one on my street this year, and then staff said, well, listen, we're getting a lot of complaints from another street, so we may have to move it because, you know, it calmed my street down. So, you know, again, I appreciate having some input, because if you get certain residents calling you, and I'd say to the manager, listen, if there's any way that, you know, you could look at, say, my street this year, and maybe next year it'll change. I've put in, you know, I have asked Public Works to put them in one street because one resident wanted it, and then the next year, you know, 10 come and say, take it out. It's causing too much noise, it's damaging their cars. So, you know, you leave it to staff, you know, to make the informed decision with us saying, okay, I'm getting a lot of complaints. So, you know, I appreciate trying to make it fair. And as long as it's fair, then it's good in my case. Thank
Okay.
you.
Councillor Twill? Second time?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the questions have been raised by the constituents, certainly in my ward. I mean, they drive around and they're saying, well, you know, what's taking place here in terms of, you know, speed humps? Why do they exist in some wards and they don't exist in others? So I think with this new policy, I like the idea of councillors being given the opportunity to collaborate with senior staff, saying, look, you know, this is an elementary school street. And there's a lot of traffic. We're using, you know, for example, let's say Upper Prince Street or Waltham Drive, they're using it as a thoroughfare. They're gunning through there sometimes, you know, 60 and 70 kilometers. Some cases even more. That's not an exaggeration, those are facts. So, you know, I think our approach here tonight is a step in the right direction. I don't think it's complete. I think it's a start, but I think we need to work with police as well. We need to work with police as well, and we need traffic enforcement, and I'm going to keep hammering away at that as well. We do need traffic. I mean, we can't have a speed hump in every street in the city of Charlotte. Now, we're going to become a city of speed humps. However, where it's warranted, then I think we've got to put them in. There has to be an equitable distribution of these speed humps. Right now, it doesn't exist. The scoreboard doesn't lie. Just go down the list. So I think this starts. It's a good start. Again, Scott, I think we need to work with police.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yeah,
Yep.
that's.
CAO, you're up there, you get red.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a point of order. The resolution that's on the floor is asking whether you want to increase to 125 temporary speed humps. So you've just voted on the policy. Now do you want to increase to 125? Thank you.
No. Whoa. I know you like to call the question, but hold on. Councillor Bernard. Yes, second time.
Yeah, understand that. So this is to recommend 125. So we used to have 75 down. We talked last time about buying another 25 to bring it to 100. Now we're talking another 25. So it's 150, or 125, but 50 more than what we've had. So I'm wondering how that's going to play out with the numbers that you have. And I guess for me, I know I'm losing a bunch, and that's, residents aren't going to be happy. When I hear about the fairness and, you know, if there was a shortage in the past, then that's probably where more should have been bought. Because if there was requests out before and they were looking for the speed bumps, then, and the department deemed that they were a safety issue and they should go down, then they should have been bought. So, but it seems now like if, you know, we're saying there's so many down and that's all there's going to be, and so we're going to start pulling some out of one ward and put them in another ward to make it fair. So to make it fair, you buy more. And I'm wondering now with the 50 extra speed bumps, how that's going to play out. Because obviously I have safety concerns because I have a number of parks, as I mentioned already. I've got kids going back and forth and I got a lot of drive-through traffic. So one thing I will ask is, can we grandfather in the speed bumps that are in now? Because we haven't asked for another speed bump in years. I think it was one last year, but other than that, we haven't asked for more speed bumps and more 10. Now the residents are going to be punished. And there's no other way to put it. The residents are going to be punished. Because there's going to be calls made. Because when these bumps don't go down in these safety issue areas, they're going to be calling asking why. So I'd like to know if they can get grandfathered in, that would work for me.
Okay. Councilor McCabe, could I just ask, like, for 2024, it's 100, right, for this year? We're going with 100? Just 1 second. Go ahead.
The data that's in front of us that we just voted on is based on 100 speed bumps, and the recommendation based on kilometer roads.
But that's this year, and then next year will be 125.
If we vote to take 125, keeping in mind
Yeah.
the cost that would have to come out of now to order those,
Yeah.
as well as the labor, and what's been explained. I
Okay.
just want to make sure that
You want to
that's
answer his
clear.
question? Thank you. Okay, Councilor Beck?
Yeah, I'll be quick. I'm not going to support this motion. I think we go with 100. We put it in, see how that works. That's an increase of 25. Go ahead with that. I take to heart what Manager Scott said about the increased cost, the increased labor. We do have other demands on our public works that are, if we're going to be, will effectively be robbing from Peter to pay Paul. And I don't think we should be doing that. And I think leave it at 25. And I won't be supporting this motion as it reads.
Okay. Councilor Ramsey, did you call the question? Okay.
Yes.
Question's called. Question's called. All those in favor of accept the recommendation to deploy 125 temporary speed humps each year as per the Public Works temporary speed hump policy. Raise your hand in support. Yep. Nope. Right here, 125. Okay. Your hands up. Okay. Councilor Twill, Councilor McKinnon, Councilor Ramsey, Bernard, and the deputy. Those against? Okay. Councilor McCabe. Beck, Councilor Beck, Duran, and who else? McAleer, did you vote yea or nay? Or are you thinking? Nay? Okay. So I got Councilor McCabe, Beck, Duran. No, it can't be a tie. I know you're looking for a tie, but it can't be a tie. Tick, 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 tick. It's 5-4. In favor. In favor. Yeah, it's a capital. It's a capital. Is it a capital purchase? Yeah, it's not an operation. Okay. Okay, and again.
Miscellaneous.
Okay. Is there another resolution? That's it? Okay, so can we go on to the next report? Economic, Tourism, and Cultural Development, Councillor Trevor McKinnon and Mr. Wayne Hambley and Laura Lee are here. Just 1 second, sir.
Mr. Wayne Long, I believe.
Wayne Long? Wayne Long, I have Wayne Hamley, reminds me of Wayne Hamley. Wayne Long.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Economic Tourism and Cultural Development Committee met on May 28th. The Arts Advisory Board met on May 9th. Minutes from these meetings are included in your package. One resolution for your consideration this evening, and I'd like to offer a few departmental highlights. I'd like to welcome the following businesses who recently opened in downtown Charlottetown. Richard Shoe Law, Grace Gifts and Lifestyle Inc., The Island Convenience and Takeout, as well as Pure and Simple, which recently opened in the Royalty Crossings. Charlottetown's downtown is starting to come alive with the patios, with summer patios. We encourage residents and visitors to get out, support local businesses, and enjoy the summer season. The Quebec Major Junior Hockey League annual session and entry draft was hosted this past week in Moncton. Congratulations to all newly drafted Islanders. Civic event season kicks off with the Capital City Canada Day, July 1st, from noon to 10 p.m. in Victoria Park. Programming will once again feature an all-day musical celebration, coastal vibes, a family fun zone which will include a new interactive activation in partnership with Indigenous PEI, and a spectacular fireworks display launched from a barge off Victoria Park. New this year, the city will partner with the Autism Society of PEI to lend noise-canceling headphones to individuals with sensory sensitivities in advance of the fireworks. Headphones will be distributed on a first-come, first-served basis. The busy summer event season is now underway with the Charlottetown Festival set to launch on June 19th, and the Festival of Small Halls, Island Tides Yoga and Wellness Festival, Diverse City Multicultural Festival, Peaks Key Festival of Lights, Andrews Hockey Growth Programs, Rising Stars Summit and International Hockey Showcase, and the Outdoor Junior 4-Star Atlantic Tennis Circuit, all scheduled to take place in the city before the end of June. Chef Jane Crawford will represent Charlottetown at the first Lobster Roll Challenge as we compete for the title of Best Lobster Roll as part of the Shediac Lobster Festival that's happening next month. Lastly, Hockey Canada recently awarded the 2024 Para Hockey Cup to Charlottetown. The event will be hosted this fall and coincides with Parasport and Recreation PEI's 50th anniversary. That's a report, Your Worship, and if there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them, and Manager Long and Laurel is in here as well.
Thank you, Councillor McKenna. Councillor Twill.
Yeah. Before we get into the resolution, I think the resolution itself is worded wrong.
Just wait, we get to the resolution, and you can correct
What?
that. You can correct that when we get to the resolution.
Yeah, it's worded wrong.
Yeah, we'll wait then. Okay. Okay, I guess we'll put the resolution up on the table now. Thank you. You want to read the resolution there, CAO Eleanor?
Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor McAleer. Be it resolved that Council does not endorse efforts by the Atlantic Moose to host a Canadian Football League game in Charlottetown, nor secure an expansion franchise given the proposed financial model, absence of a sound business plan, destination market readiness, and the significant CFL specifications, and that the deferred resolution of April 9th, 2024 as attached be rescinded.
Okay, so Councillor Twill, you want to address the resolution? Go right ahead.
If you look at the resolution,
Yes.
Council does not endorse the efforts by the Atlantic Moose to host Canadian Football League game in Charlottetown. That's not what they asked. I made that request. That would be done separately by the city of Charlottetown, not directly involved with the Atlantic Moose. They were talking about a franchise. I was the one that made a recommendation that we should explore the opportunity of hosting a CFL game here in the city of Charlottetown. Being involved with the football community, business community, and anyone that's interested in pursuing such an initiative. So the request I made at the previous committee was to explore that opportunity. And I still think that opportunity has a lot of merit, require the involvement of 3 levels of government. Again, major sponsorship, and then council can make an informed decision whether or not they want to endorse such an initiative. So that resolution is not worded properly. I respectfully request you know, that part of the resolution be removed. You want to vote against, you know, that company that wants to have a CFL team here, that's fine and dandy, but that or CFL game was the initiative that I want to pursue as a member of the football community and as a member of city council.
Okay.
So,
Yep, thank you. Okay, Councilor McKinnon?
so I'd like to have that removed.
Councilor McKinnon?
Thank you, Councillor Twill, for your question. I will defer this to Manager Mr. Long for clarification on this. Thank you.
Mr. Wayne?
Your Worship, through the chair, council recall at the last council meeting, which was the May council meeting, that we brought forward a resolution to originally endorse the efforts of the Atlantic Moose to prospect a CFL game for the municipality, and that was at the direction of the Economic, Tourism and Cultural Development Committee. At the last council meeting, council directed staff go back to the Atlantic Moose with specific questions related to hosting a CFL exhibition game. Staff did do that, and the Atlantic Moose were not in support of providing the additional information and suggested that the municipality would need to serve as the financial guarantor of the event, however they were willing to organize. So in consultation with that piece of information, our director and admin staff, we put all projects together with the intent to deal with this in one resolution versus multiple resolutions.
So Councilor Twill, second time, so you know. Okay, go ahead, sir.
So, thank
Yep.
you, Wayne, but I still think that, you know, when they came here with their proposal, it was for a CFL team. It wasn't for a CFL game. They wanted to somehow, and you know what, who knows? Maybe they're right, maybe they've got merit, I don't know. A lot of questions have to be answered, but I was one that suggested having a CFL game here. I think that we, in this city, as the potential partners that I've outlined, we have strong alumni here. You know, we've got a lot of people that played university football, whether it be at UPEI or other universities. A lot of members of the business community that support the game, and I think that we need to, you know, we need separation here because it's two different issues. And you know what? I'm willing to head that up and at least do the research and go out and meet with the football community and the business community and come back with some information for council to see where we would go from there. I would suggest we can do even benchmarks. But again, it's two different issues. They were not suggesting a CFL, and it wasn't an exhibition game, it was a regular season game. Halifax has held games, Moncton, Wolfville, where Katy University's held games, went over extremely well. We're the only province in Prince Edward Island that's never ever hosted a game. We owe it to our the sporting community at least to look at it from an analytical perspective and then bring back that information to council.
Thank you. Councilor McKinnon, do you want to, no, okay, Councilor McKay?
I'm just wondering, because I remember reading this report last, like where, based on the criteria and stuff for a CFL team and stuff to come, where would this even, why are we, do we have a place that this would actually be possible? Because really, if, based on what I read, and maybe it was two separate issues, but based on what I read before, we don't even have infrastructure here to support that. So I don't know why we're exploring something if we're not physically possibly able to. So can you clarify, do we have a place here to host a CFL game?
Councilor McKinnon?
Thank you, Councillor McKay, for your question. In short, no, we do not. We need $1 million as a down payment. We need a 12,000-seat stadium. That was what they were looking for a game, for them to come here. We do not have that infrastructure, among other things.
Mr. Wayne, do you wish to address that? Do you want to, is that all right, Councilor McKinnon? Can he?
Your worship, through the chair, we currently don't have the infrastructure to host. What I indicated last time, council may recall, is that you can build portable stadiums, but there's quite a few specifications that the CFL requires. It would be a costly endeavor. Of course, you can secure other funding partners, but it would be a large mountain to climb. That was the discussion that we've had with CFL as well at the time. And staff certainly would take the direction of our committee and council. When we discussed this at our last committee meeting, we put this information on the floor as well, and the committee indicated that they were not supportive to pursue.
Okay, no, Councillor Tweedy already spoke twice. So is there any appetite to change the resolution from the mover and the seconder? It's your resolution. No. The mover and seconder, Councillor McKinnon and Councillor McAleer. None? Okay, the resolution stands on the floor. Question? Questions come. Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Of the resolution. Okay. Just 1 second. Okay. Councillor McCabe, Councillor Beck, Councillor McKinnon, Councillor Drawn, Councillor Ramsey, Councillor, just 1 second. Okay, McAleer, Bernard, and the deputy. All those against? Okay, 8-1. Sure.
I don't know what we're trying to do here in terms of stating that there's no facility. That's not true. The University of Prince Edward Island does have a facility. Holland College Hurricanes play their regular season games. I've attended games out there ever since the inception of that team. So in terms of, temporary seating, we haven't even had discussions with the university. So to suggest there's not a facility is absolutely not true. There is a facility at the University of Prince Edward Island.
Okay, just to follow up, not Councillor Tweel, I did email Jane Vesey, who is the athletic director at UPEI, and she says, please see specs for turf field attached. We believe it just falls short of the CFL requirements. And I spoke to your old buddy Mark McDougall, phys ed teacher out at, yep, he does have it, and that's something we'd have to collaborate with Cornwall. So that's something we can look at. Okay.
So we can't play games with UPES?
Nope, it doesn't meet the specs. Okay. Environment, is there anything else? Anything else? Okay. Environment and sustainability, Councillor Terry Bernard. Just 1 second. Go ahead.
Your
ahead, sir.
Worship, the Environment Sustainability Committee met. The minutes, as everybody knows, are in their package, so I'll do my best to answer any questions if there's any, and I'll speak on the resolutions.
Okay. Get a report. Want to go to the first resolution? Councillor Bernard? Good. CAO? Please.
Moved by Councillor Bernard, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. Be it resolved that council approves city staff to move forward with negotiating a purchase price for PID 354225 and return to council for final approval of the purchase, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Want to speak to it, Councillor Bernard?
Yeah, this is something that Councillor Beck took to our committee. There's an area of land in his ward that has been for sale, and it connects onto part of some city property. My understanding is that even though the lot's for sale for 100-some thousand, it can't be built on because it has infrastructure in the ground. I believe we did our separation of septic and stormwater. The pipes ran through that property, so there's some infrastructure there that you can't really dig down and build on. So a number of neighbors got a hold of Councillor Beck, and they would like to see it go into a garden area, which is a great idea. So came to our committee, the staff talked about, they went out and evaluated the property, and it would be a great addition to the city to add on to the piece of property that the city already owns. So this is to give them permission to go out and negotiate a price. I think the price is a little high right now. So the resolution to give staff permission to go out and see if we can't get a appropriate price for the land to have a garden there, Your Worship. So, thank you.
Okay. Questions called? Deputy? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Councillor Twill, Councillor McCabe, Councillor Beck, Councillor McKinnon, Councillor Ramsey, McAleer, Bernard, and Deputy Mayor Yankoff. All those against? Councillor Durant. Okay. Next resolution, please.
Yeah, no.
Moved by Councillor Bernard, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. Be it resolved that council supports a grant application to the Green Municipal Fund and endorse the vision for a 2-year bike share pilot project to be implemented in Charlottetown starting in 2025, should the federal and provincial grants be awarded, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay. Councillor Bernard.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. I think council probably remembers that we dropped the bike share program in our budget when we were doing our yearly budget. So there's some grants out there that we're applying for, so if we can be successful, we can start the bike share pilot program, Your Worship. Thank you.
Councillor Durant.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. I look at the notes, and it kind of worries me there about how much money it's going to cost the city for these bikes. And it's, the resolution says if we get grants. So it's still, we're still going back to putting 68 e-bikes around the city of Charlottetown, docking stations. It's a large cost for 3 or 4 months for downtown Charlottetown. And I just don't see it. I guess the Green Municipal Fund, all these things, I mean, we do have activation transportation pathways. But to me, it's just, where do we stop? It just seems to be, we want to get involved in everything. And again, it's just, it comes down to black and white to me, and it's too much money for this. So I can't support it. Thank you.
Councillor Bernard.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Durant, it is expensive, and that's why we're applying for the Green Municipal Fund. We get money from the federal government and money from the provincial government. This program, as everybody knows that was in Calgary, you see the program is in Calgary and it's working well, and this will be a pilot program to see how well it works. So we'll get the funding first, see if we're successful, and Councillor Durant, that's all this is to apply for the funding.
Yeah.
It's not saying we're going to do it yet.
No.
It's just apply for funding, so we'll see what happens if we are successful on these 3 levels. Because then the amount of city dollars is not real high compared to the cost. Thank you.
Councillor Beck.
Yeah, I remember when we had a part of our budgetary discussions, I wasn't in favor of this.
Okay.
But as I went on and attended the Environment and Sustainability meeting and heard a lot of the work that was done in the background by Anna and Jessica and work in their department, I think it merits in a lot of further discussions. And one of the concerns I did have was the impact potentially on private local bike companies. And I think that's been addressed here. I think the fact that we're trying to, I think what we have to realize here is that Charlottetown can be a really bikeable city. It can be a very bikeable city, and I think we're starting to get some pieces in place that can allow us to move towards becoming an increasingly bikeable city. And I think this would be a great initiative to learn about what would be required in terms of making us more bikeable, in terms of enhancing our, becoming a real bike-friendly community. And the other part I do like about it too is tagging on to the e-scooter piece, because we've had discussions about e-scooters here in terms of how we bring that in, working that along, where does that fit, and in terms of developing policy around that too. So I'm going to support it. I believe that it's a good initiative, and we look at it for 2 years and then figure out where we go from there. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Ramsey.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, and I like it too, because this is only to see if we can get the funding. Am I correct? And the other thing I was worried about, what Councillor Beck brought up too, like, are we going to be in sort of competition with these private owners, and that's the only thing we got to be careful of. I mean, but to explore just for the funding, I'm in favor of that. Thank you.
Can I just get Councillor Drawn and then come back to you?
Yep.
Okay, Councillor Drawn and then Councillor Twill.
Thank you, Mayor Brown.
Go
And
ahead.
I can appreciate where you're going, but at the same time, if we get all the funding, it's still going to be $137,000 a year, plus staff time, when we're forcing or asking staff to do more. And the correlation between Charlottetown being a biking area, I can understand that, but when we say, well, it's great in Calgary, and I think the first time we talked about it works in Montreal, but this is Charlottetown. I mean, we don't have the people. And I mean, I drive around now and I see bikes parked there with helmets not being used. So now we're gonna throw another 68 bikes in different stations, and there's gonna be upkeep and issues with helmets and people, it's just to me, 140,000. I'm begging for my street to get, half my street to get paved. I mean, I don't know where we're gonna get the money for everything, but again, do what you want. It was just my opinion on that. It's a lot of money. Thank you.
Bear in mind, Your Worship, this is a bike share pilot program, if we get the funding, okay? So we'll have a good idea how it's going to work, but it is a pilot program.
Councillor Twill.
Yeah, I'm all for the city becoming more cycling friendly. We have a lot of deficiencies when it comes to venues and facilities in our city. I think we've done a great job constructing transportation pathways in the periphery of the city, but I can tell you, in through the heart of the city, there's nothing. It's dangerous. A lot of streets are dangerous. You wouldn't send your child out onto the streets to cycle. So, in terms of infrastructure, enhancements, improvements, we have a long way to go. A long way to go. Question was raised by Councillor Ramsey about how does this affect the private sector? Is this in direct I guess my question starts with, is this in direct competition with the private sector? Because it's like the city of Charlottetown getting into the gym business, providing, gym equipment to go work out when we have Atlantic Fitness Center, we have all these other facilities. So that's one of the questions I do have.
Yep. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jessica, but I believe we also talked, like, if this comes to fruition, this will be through a business, will it not?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Twill, so I guess there's a couple pieces. So the local businesses could bid, this would go out for bids. So they could bid on being the operator of this. So there could be advantages to the business. The bikes that are purchased through this could be maintained by local businesses. That's an option as well. And the model of a bike share is different than being a tourist and coming and renting a bike for a half day or a full day. This is more geared to commuters. So I know Councillor Beck was talking to somebody at UPEI, and they were saying their students would think it would be really valuable, because if you live in the downtown, you can check a bike out for half an hour and bike to school and then take it home again. So it's more that type of lifestyle than competing with the tourism industry.
Thank you.
Councillor McCabe.
And I'm clarifying, it's not 137,000 a year, that's over 2 years, right? So it's half of that per year? Isn't that,
Is that correct?
I thought?
I'm just asking the chair. You want to defer to
You know what, I'm pretty sure it is, but I'll
the
clarify.
manager? Yep, there she is. She's giving it now.
Yeah,
Public
so
record.
I'm just rereading the financial
Yeah.
section as well with you. So the 82% would come from the proposed funding, with 18% from the city, 12, which is cash. That's split over 2 years, 137
It is, yeah,
split over
it's
2
2
years. And 6% is in-kind staff time.
Councillor McAleer and then Councillor Twill, second time. Councillor McAleer.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Brown. Yeah, just, there's a lot of good information in the report, that study, or whatever you wish to call it, and I certainly, Councillor Drong's concerns don't escape me either. And I'd just like to I mean, I'm in support of this resolution, but, and just to point, I'll just look to this paragraph, I think resonated well with me. It said, Prince Edward Island is the ideal location for this pilot program due to the small geographic distance for commuters, with 85% living within 7 kilometers of their workplace. This fact, coupled with the existing expanding network of multi-use pathways across Charlottetown and its neighboring municipalities of Stratford and Cornwall, thriving tourism industry, the relatively flat topography, and the appealing atmosphere, a bike share system presents a sustainable solution to address transportation challenges, emissions, and promote health. And anyway, a lot of that certainly resonates with me, but the infrastructure has been built, continues to be built. It needs a financial incentive. This is a pilot, and I think it deserves support. And let's see where we are after 2 years. We're going to have more infrastructure and maybe possibly more bikes in the road. We'll have to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Twill? Second time.
So who's going to provide the safety and security and look after these bikes to make sure they're not stolen?
Okay.
Over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had record amounts of bikes stolen in this city. Bikes stolen and expensive bikes. A lot of expensive bikes have been stolen in this city. And people have made investment in these bikes and never ever got them back. And in fact, that's never been addressed by City Council, the amount of theft of bicycles. So is there a safety and security plan, a protection plan to protect these new investments, these new bikes from being stolen? And what's the cost of the insurance? What is the liability? Have we looked at all those things in terms of, what are the legal consequences of bikes being stolen? Because I can guarantee you one thing, after what's happened here in the last 3 or 4 years in this city, you can rest assured a lot of these bikes are probably, some of them will be stolen. You can put your money on it.
Councillor Bernard?
Thank you, Worship. The bikes won't be stolen because there's GPS on them and they're locked.
Yeah.
So you'll have to use an app to be able to get them to unlock it. And on the helmet issue, there's also an app that lets them know if you've got your helmet on or not, by the way it clicks in. And as far as insurance and that would be up to the provider. But it's no different than what you're seeing with the scooters now. And I think, it's GPS, so they know where the bikes are all the time. And when someone wants one, they use their app, they pay for it, they release it to them. So.
Good. Councillor Beck?
Yeah, I guess just one final point, and it kind of goes back to what Councillor Twill was saying in terms of we don't have what we need right now, but I think we're looking to build, and you got to start somewhere, and you have to look at part of this is changing habits. I think I read somewhere that we are one of the most car-centric areas. Yeah. So it's about going and changing our ways of doing business, and it's the sort of thing I think if we take a look at the T3 Transit, look where it started, and look where we are today.
I know.
I don't know if anyone
was there.
ever could have predicted the success that T3 Transit has experienced, and so I think if we're looking for precedents, I think we've got it. And I think if we've got some things that we can build upon with how we've done it in the cities. And like I said, Charlottetown, I've biked in Europe. I've seen what biking is like and what biking can be. And we have a lot of things in Charlottetown here that potentially we could be. I'm not saying we can be there in next year or in 5 years or in even 10 years, but it has to start somewhere.
Yes.
And this is a great catalyst, I think, for moving us forward on the road to changing our transportation practices. So
you should try.
And the other thing is,
Yeah.
I would add too, Anna Keenan, who we've recently hired, has done a tremendous amount of work on active transportation paths. There's Bike Friendly Charlottetown has done a tremendous amount of work in terms of providing a high level of engagement around that. So we've got some pieces that are coming in place to start moving us towards alternative forms of transportation. We're not there yet, but I think this is a great start in terms of getting us there. Thank you.
Councillor Bernard.
I'll just finish up. Yeah, I think it's a good project too. And I mean, you look back where we started with our bike lanes. I mean, it was basically identifying bike lanes on the side of the road, and we've grown to active transportation. So yes, it is growing, and it will continue to grow. But I know from our meetings, we had, in this pilot project, I believe it was looking for when someone does access one of these bikes, I think there's a time limit on it. So it's not like they would be, it's like when the Rackley, this is really within the hour type of a timeline. So then I suppose if we wanted to have it more, we could. But I think the idea was around an hour. So anyway, this is an application for funding, Your Worship. That's where we're at right now. So that's what the resolution's asking for.
Yeah. And you were down 9th Avenue there in front of the Palliser Fairmount. You saw how fast the cars were going. I know there's vehicle speed all over the place, but I'd be a little bit hesitant. I prefer to drive down these streets in an e-bike.
They're not 5 lanes, yeah.
Questions called? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, Councillor Twill, Councillor McCabe, Councillor Beck, Councillor McKinnon, Ramsey, McAleer, Bernard, and the deputy. All those against? Councillor Duran, 8-1. Do we have anything else? Yes, we do.
Moved by Councillor Bernard, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. Be it resolved that Council endorses research being conducted by the province of PEI into provincially owned electricity production and delivery.
Okay, Councillor Bernard.
Thank you, Your Worship. And we talked about this a little bit in here, but it's good to have a resolution. So what we're looking for is this Environment Sustainability Committee is looking for council in supporting the Provincial Minister, Steve Myers, in conducting review of the possibility of electricity generation and distribution, Your Worship, becoming a Crown corporation. We think that would be very beneficial to the economy of Charlottetown and the residents of Charlottetown, keeping the rates, as we know this year, they're up 10%, possibly 12%. It's like we talked about in the past where we have all these incentives to lower greenhouse gases emissions, and then the electricity rates goes up. So I think they're looking to do a study to see if they can, and it's been done in other municipalities in Canada. It has been done. So if the idea here is support the province in doing that study and see what it shows, and if they can go and have Maritime Electric as a Crown corporation, it'd be better for everybody. So thank you.
Councillor Mitchell Twill, Ward 4.
That's right, Ward 4. So are we looking at supporting the province in doing a study, making, what are we talking about, Maritime Electric becoming a Crown corporation? Is that, before I go in, that's my, yeah, I know, but I don't want this to be, my first question.
Together,
Yeah, I know,
I'm
but
listening to the
I gotta-
package.
I have to, just a yes or no from the chair.
No,
Is that,
yeah, he will. Just bring it all together.
Yes, that's what they had out in their announcement. That's what the minister wants to do. So he wants to get a consultant in and do a full report and see what the report comes up with. And we're looking for the city of Charlottetown to support the minister in moving ahead with that consultant's report.
okay. I got nothing, well, geez, I wanted to do a study, council said no, but anyway, now we want to look at, I don't know what the word is, nationalizing, I don't know, our electricity. Have there been discussions with Maritime Electric? Have we had any discussions with Chief Administrative Officer? Or have we, I don't think the last thing we want to do as a city council or city corporation is blindside Maritime Electric. I mean, yeah, no one's, with Fiona and the increase in electricity and all those sorts of things. And then the question becomes, from a philosophical point of view, let's say it does become a corporation, a Crown corporation. I mean, does that guarantee us electricity rates are going to be any cheaper? I mean, I don't know. So, if you're going to go down this road, I do think, I mean, has senior staff had any discussions with Maritime Electric in any which way, shape, or form? Because if we pass a resolution here tonight without even engaging with Maritime Electric to let them know, I mean, they're a major player in the province of Prince Edward Island. And whether we like it or we don't like it, I mean, still, they provide an indispensable, valuable service to this province. So have we had any discussions, Mr. Mayor? I mean...
Do you want me to answer?
Yeah, I do. Okay.
It's not us doing a report, it's the province. The province has already said that they would like to do a report. Obviously, Maritime Electric is well aware of it. Anytime you have a Crown corporation, I mean, Maritime Electric, as you know, has shareholders. They have people that are making pretty good income. So the idea is... Yeah, just hold it. Yeah, I know, but I'm talking to you because you asked the question. So the idea is to do a consultant's report to see what that's going to look like, see what the landscape looks like. It may never happen. There's been reports on this done in previous years. Hasn't been done for quite a few years now. The minister responsible for the environment and energy with the province is put it out there that he wants to do this study. If it's going to save taxpayers' money, and it's going to save businesses money, it's going to be good for the economy, it's going to be better for our residents. The reason that they were looking at doing it is all the money that we and the province have been putting out in incentives for people to move to heat pumps and move into cleaner energy has been offset now by the rates keep going up. So they're looking to find a way to stabilize the rates. This could be one. It may not work, but at least there'll be a report it's going to take. It may be a combination of both. It may be electricity generation, and Maritime Electric continues to do the distribution. We don't know. All we're doing is supporting the consultant to go look into it. That's all this is asking for, that we're supporting the province and them going out and getting the consultant's report to see what it says. That's it. The idea is, at the end of the day, to save money for your constituents, save money so that the economy will obviously flourish from the electricity rates continue to go up if we can keep them down.
Yeah. No, Councillor Tweedy, I've always spoke, the council endorses research being conducted right up there, conducted by the province, Prince Edward Island, into provincially owned electricity. So it's just a research being done. Councillor Beck.
Personally, I don't have any problem with endorsing this. I do want to raise a point.
Go ahead.
I was asked a question by a resident about a position, whether the city should take a position on another matter. The response I got back was, while unwritten, we don't take official positions on global, federal, or provincial issues unless they have a direct impact on municipal policy or operations. So, again, I don't disagree with doing the research on this.
Which would have a significant impact.
I know, but I'm going by what the answer they get back that said, we don't take a position unless it directly impacts our municipal operations or our policy, not whether it directly impacts our residents or our taxpayers. So, again, I want to be perfectly clear. I don't disagree with doing the research. I don't disagree with the philosophy behind it. I just want to be consistent. And so therefore, because of that, I'm not going to support it based purely on a matter of principle. So it's not a philosophical thing. It's just a matter of principle. I'm not saying that Stephen Myers is off base or the province is off base or anything like that. I'm just not going to support it because of the direction that was given to me on the other matters. So I just wanted to provide a bit of context as to why I would not support it.
So, yeah, and I can understand that. But I think it does have a significant impact when you look at the electricity rates, for example, just at the treatment plant alone, let alone other city facilities. Will it have a significant impact? It could. It could.
Question called? Question's called. All those in favor of the resolution, please put your hand up. Counselor McCabe, Duran, McKinnon, Ramsey, Aguilera, Counselor Bernard, and the deputy. All those against? Counselor Twill and Counselor Beck. Okay. Yeah. So we got a few reports left. Finance, and also Human Resources, that Counselor Ramsey is going to present strategic priorities and notice of motion. So I need a motion to go for an extra time. Moved by Counselor Beck, second by Counselor Ramsey. All those in favor? Okay. Keep moving, and that's it for reports from Environment, Finance, Audit, Tender, and Administration. Counselor Aguilera.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. The short report, no report. The Finance, Audit, and Tendering Committee has not met since the last meeting. There's no resolutions. However, I can say our next Finance Committee meeting is tomorrow at 12 noon, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Counselor Twill.
Just want to make a request, Chair McAleer, just a request. I'll, ask your senior staff to do a chronological of all of the consultants' reports that have been retained, the cost of those reports, who requested the reports. Let's say go back over the last 4 or 5 years. So just take that under advisement, and I'd like staff to provide that information. Like to get that information whenever they can compile all that data. Thank you.
Okay. Counselor McAleer.
Yeah, could you, Councillor Twill, perhaps be a little more specific? Examples or what?
Your worship, point of order on this too. There is no report. We're only supposed to speak to reports in this, and it would be, yeah, you request that via an email based on the information we just got.
Point of order taken. And I know the point of order is taken, and I'm asking him to send. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, send him. He'll send you an email.
Yeah.
Send you an email.
Yep. Yep. Do that. Do send me an email, Councillor Twill, and we'll take it from there.
Okay. No. We're moving on. No. Councillor Twill, we're moving on. Human Resources. You sit down. Human Resources, Councillor Ramsey.
Thank you, Your Worship. The HR met May 14th. The draft minutes are in your report. We have no resolutions at this time, but any questions, we will see what we can do. I don't think there's anyone here but me.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Ramsey. Great report. And Councillor Beck, Strategic Priorities, Communications, and Intergovernmental Cooperation.
Equally quick. We met on May 23rd. We have no resolutions. Any questions? I will address about any matter that you may have. Thank you.
Great report there, Councillor Beck. Very good report. Notice of motions. Now, who deals with this, CAO? Do you wish to ask? Yep, could you, Councillor Bob Duran, Public Works, you want to just read them out?
Thank
please?
you, Your Worship. There's 2 notice of motions. Both of these notice of motions will go through to their respective committees and then come back to council for consideration. The first notice of motion is from Councillor Bob Duran, that Public Works reevaluate the 2024 Capitol Street resurfacing list to consider adding Fulton Drive and the lower end of Cedar Avenue to that list. And the second notice of motion is from Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, that Strategic Priorities, Communications, and Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee consider adding a new item titled Councillor Inquiries to the regular monthly meeting of council agenda.
And what standing committees do they go to? One, Public Works, and the other, Strategic Priorities, so they'll go right back to those committees. Just notice of motions. Any new business there? Okay. Motion to adjourn? A motion to adjourn? All those in favor? Hose camera.